Standards, it has not been a great week of hockey. 2 losses and a narrow victory over Toronto. Tuesday night in New York, the Islanders' Clark Gillies had the hat trick in a 7-3 win. Those two teams battling for most points in the NHL. Thursday night, a close call in Montreal as the Canadiens pulled out a 2-1 victory over the Leafs. On this goal late in the third period by veteran Jacques Lemaire. It was Toronto's 5th consecutive loss. It culminated in the firing of coach Roger Nielsen. Saturday night in Montreal, it was the 500th meeting between the Red Wings and the Canadiens. Detroit celebrating with a 5-3 victory. Vaslav Nedomansky scoring the game winner, his 33rd of the year. The Wings also scored 2 shorthanded goals. And the Capitals are coming off their most encouraging win of the season here at the Capitol Center in Landover. It came yesterday against Minnesota. 5-4 was the final. The Caps lost a 4-3 lead in the final minute, but still pulling out the win. Mike Fiedler fired a drive past Gary Innes to tie it at 4 apiece. But on the ensuing faceoff, less than a minute to play, Bob Serwa steals the puck in the corner. He takes it out in front, skates in and scores on Gilles Meloche. 13 seconds showing on the clock. And Washington comes back to win it 5-4. A great way to come into a game with Montreal. The Capitals don't have any problem putting the puck in the net. Guy Charron, 200 goals yesterday. Coming up, Bob Serwa leading the Capitals with 28 goals. Ryan Walter is the other winger. Those three form a line, 24 goals. He's a candidate for Rookie of the Year honors. Dennis Marouk, he's coming to the Caps from Minnesota last year. The team's top point getter, 25 goals, 46 assists, 71 points. Tom Rowe is the 5th player. He's got 25. The Caps 7th in the league in goals scored. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, it's the Stanley Cup champion Montreal Canadiens against the vastly improved Washington Capitals. Portion of NHL 79 is being brought to you by Sony. Whatever home entertainment you need, it's a Sony. And by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. And by Porsche Audi, the official cars of the NHL Network. Nothing even comes close. Good evening from the nation's capital, and welcome to tonight's hockey game between the Caps and the Montreal Canadiens. I'm Scott Wally, your host for NHL 79. Once again, calling the play-by-play of all the action tonight, Dan Kelly, the veteran voice of the St. Louis Blues. And back with us again as guest commentator, Gary Dornhofer, who retired from the Philadelphia Flyers last year after 13 NHL seasons. The team with the best overall record at the end of the regular season is assured of home ice for the entire playoffs. The Canadiens being chased for that honor currently by the New York Islanders. Montreal with 94, the Islanders with 90, then comes Boston, the Rangers, Atlanta, and Philadelphia. Dan Kelly talked about the point race with Montreal coach Scotty Bowman.
Scotty, currently you're 4 points ahead of the New York Islanders. They have a game in hand on you people. Thus, this game and all remaining games for you and the Canadiens, if you want to wind up with the best overall record, are important. How are you handling that with your club?
Well, yeah, I think we know what the Islanders can do this year, and of course, much more at home. They've lost 2 games in New York, and I think if you really got down to a showdown with the 2 clubs, of course, we could only meet in the final if we both kept going and finished 1-2. So it would be important, I think, to start a final series on your own home ice when the teams are so close. And this is a game that is important to us because if the Islanders can get 2 games on us and then close the gap, they'd be even.
That's the Canadiens coach, Scotty Bowman. Here's another Scotty, Scott Wally.
Well, thank you, Dan Kelly. And I'll be back. I'll top you. I'll be back with another Danny Valai of the Washington Capitals in just a moment. This is NHL 79 live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland.
years, you fought the mountain for a 90-ton slab of granite. And now you hold your breath while you bring it out until it swings free and clear. Now comes Miller time. Time to head for the best tasting beer you can find, Miller High Life.
When it's time to relax, one beer stands clear, Miller Beer.
I got held up every morning, waiting for my roll-on antiperspirant to dry. Look, roll-ons go on wet. Later, they still stick to your shirt. So I got on the stick, Menon Speed Stick. Speed Stick is solid deodorant, an even effective layer of deodorant protection that goes on dry. So dry that Speed Stick never sticks to your shirt. So don't get held up. Get on the stick. Menon Speed Stick.
Oh, the things people do to decide between two TV shows they want to watch. Well, now you don't have to decide anymore, because with Sony's Betamax video recorder, you can actually watch a show on one channel while you're videotaping a show on another channel. That way, you get to see both of them, so you don't have to worry about dreaming up new ways of deciding.
Okay, first one to the TV set chooses.
We are just moments away from tonight's game between the Caps and the Canadiens, and we're talking briefly with the first-year coach of the Capitals, Danny Belial. Danny, you had a very character-building victory over Minnesota yesterday, but now you're playing a team you've never defeated before, and you've got to do it without Gary Innes, who has a groin injury, and also Bernie Wolf, who's also nursing an injury. Who are you going with in goal, and how serious are the injuries to your two other goaltenders?
Well, we're going with Jim Bedard tonight, who's been down in Hershey for the last couple of months, and of course, the reason is Gary Innes is injured, has a groin injury that isn't too severe, but severe enough to keep him out this game, and he should be ready by next week. And Bernie Wolf also has a muscle problem, and he'll be out for a few days. So we brought up Jim. We had intentions of bringing him up anyhow, and so we're throwing him right into a big one tonight.
Danny, Detroit beat Montreal at the Forum. Pittsburgh defeated Montreal last month. You can beat those clubs. Do you think it's just about time for the Washington Capitals to defeat the Canadiens?
Well, you think the law of averages alone would get us a victory, but really, Montreal really seems to get up against us. I think they're sort of a record-conscious type of team, of course, and we never have won in the history of the franchise, and I think this is an incentive for them to get up for every game against us, because we've never caught them flat or having a so-so game, whereas it appears from what I talked to other people that L.A. and Pittsburgh and Detroit have played Montreal when they're not really having a big game, but I haven't seen them play that way.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
Danny Belial, the coach of the Washington Capitals. In just a moment, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals and the start of tonight's hockey game.
This man needs a lawyer, but he doesn't have one. If you need a lawyer, call the Nationwide Law Firm. $25 a year gives you 6 initial consultations in 6 legal areas, such as matrimonial, criminal, accidents, real estate, wills. If you need more help, we'll represent you for a reasonable fee. For the office near you, call 24 hours toll-free, 1-800-331-1000, 1-800-331-1000. The Nationwide Law Firm. Now you have a lawyer.
Think about this. Now you can get a line of credit that's completely separate from your checking account. It's called the credit account from European American Bank. Use it to pay off charge accounts, make major purchases whenever you need credit. It has a lower rate of interest than most other forms of credit. Just call, qualify, and get a line of credit from $1,000 to $10,000. To use it, just write one of these checks. The credit account. We believe it's the best source of credit for all your credit needs.
the national anthem here at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, just outside the nation's capital. The officials for tonight's game, the referee will be Ron Wicks. The linesmen are Claude Béchard and Don Koharski. Starting in goal for the Montreal Canadiens, the league leader in goals against average, Ken Dryden, 38 games, league leading 2.29 goals against. And at the other end, it is Jim Bedard, just up from Hershey of the American League. He played previously this season in Washington for 20 games and had an average of 4.55 goals against.
Peter Toe.
The Canadian ambassador, Peter Toe, ready to drop the puck, and as a matter of fact, he already has to ceremoniously start this National Hockey League game. The Capitals, in 29 previous games against the Canadiens, have not been able to win. But the Capitals have been red hot of late, unbeaten in their last 3 games. As we start this hockey game, referee Ron Wicks ready to drop the puck, and Gary Dornhopper. The Capitals have numerous changes because of some injuries.
Well, the Caps, as you say, have a few fellows out, and they've recruited 3 players from the Hershey Bears, and we'll get into those as the game gets underway, Dan, but they've got their work cut out for them. You know, anytime Montreal comes off a loss, you know how difficult they are to play against.
Doug Jarvis ready to face off against Guy Chara. And the puck goes immediately to the Canadiens line. Gainey on defense to Lapointe. Back to number 23, Bob Gainey. He fired at the center ice. Régin Houle shoots it into the Washington zone, and Robert Picard back to get it out to Sirois, number 25. Sirois tied up. Now here's Picard back of the net with Houle. Lynch cleared it around in the boards, and Ryan Walter, the Capital rookie, got it outside the blue line. Here's Risebrough, number 8 for Montreal. The shot, Bedard handles that. Ryan Walter back of the net. Squeezed out of the play. Canadians center it. After the loose puck is Houle into the corner. Here's Jarvis. Jarvis given a rough ride by Picard to Risebrough. Now Risebrough dropping it back. Lapointe shot is blocked, and Picard feeds it out to Chara. Here's Chara for Sirois on right wing. Bob Sirois then checked from behind on the play, and Risebrough cleared at the center. Jack Lynch shoots it right back in for Washington. Here's Walter. Squeezed out of the play by Guy Lapointe. Walter stays on his feet. Now being tied up by Jarvis in the corner. Puck's finally held along the boards, and we'll have a face-off. As we look at the Capitals' #1 draft choice, Ryan Walter, and he's had quite a first year despite some injuries.
Absolutely, and you know, as we had mentioned before, a great candidate for Rookie of the Year. You know, he moves that puck so well and has got a great scoring touch. And right now, because they have an abundance of center icemen, the Capitals are using them on left wing, and it certainly hasn't hindered them in any way.
Walter, center or a left winger tonight, as Gary mentions, playing on the left side. Marouk on the faceoff broke his hockey stick. Marouk is centering Tom Rowe, and also on that line is Rolf Edberg, one of the Swedish newcomers to the Capitals this year on the right side, number 10. Jacques Lemaire will take the faceoff for Montreal. The Canadiens tonight without defenseman Larry Robinson. Suffered a knee injury last night. Pat Hughes and Mark Napier are not suited up. Capitals have numerous injuries. We'll get to those. Here's a clearing pass to Lafleur at center. Lafleur moving in, shoots one, and Bedard to save. Big rebound. And Lemaire fired one. And Bedard caught that and held on.
You know, Dan, I talked to Gary Ennis before the game and tried to find out something about Bedard. And one thing that he's really worked on is challenging the shooters. And here you can see how Bedard is way out in front of the crease there and makes 2 excellent saves.
Capital defense rather clear and slow and clearing the puck, and it went right to Lemaire. Now here's a face-off. It comes to center ice. Savard, number 18 for the Canadiens, cleared it in. Lane shot it back out for Washington. Here's Rowe for the Capitals to Marouk. Shoots one, and he fired just wide. Rowe couldn't get the rebound, and back comes Steve. Shot to Lafleur. Lafleur in with Lemaire, and center to Lemaire. A shot, a glove save by Bedard. Now Savard shooting, and he blasted it wide. Lafleur in the corner. Back of the net to Shutt. He missed it, and Swenson has it for Washington. Out on right wing for Rowe. Got it to the line. Shutt held it in. Now Swenson on the second try does clear the zone, and Savard goes back for Montreal. Serge Savard shooting it off the boards and up over the boards at the Montreal players bench. And the faceoff will be back at the Montreal Canadian blue line. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals.
Why did Car and Driver magazine call the Audi 5000 a functional masterpiece and yet one of the most sumptuous cars ever to come out of Germany? Why did Road and Track magazine say, for the money, we don't see anything that can touch it? Test drive the Audi 5000 at your Porsche Audi dealer and find out why.
At the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, we're just into the hockey game. 17 minutes, 56 seconds left in the first period. Scoreless game. Canadians from the faceoff. Guy Lapointe to Bob Gainey. Gainey head-manning it at center ice to Mondeau. Mondeau firing it in for Tremblay. He couldn't get it, and Brent Tremblay for Washington, tied up by Mario Tremblay back to the net. Now they clear it around on the boards to Chartrand. Goes all the way down the ice. And as Bob Gainey goes back and touches it, an icing call against the Washington Capitals. Wanted to ask you, Gary, Scotty Bowman with a great defensive player and a great hockey player, period. Bob Gainey is converting him to a defenseman. What do you think of that move?
Well, I tell you, with his speed out there, you know, when the opposing team shoots it in, he's certainly going to get back there and pick it up in a hurry. And he has the ability to, you know, hand out those body checks and make those good plays. So it's great to have a player of his ability that can move all over the place.
Bob Gainey, by the way, will be our first intermission guest in the upcoming intermission. Here is Tremblay, or Stewart, for Washington on right wing, number 14, a backhander off Dryden's stick. And Mario Tremblay clears it to center ice. Hextall. Now the Canadian Chartrand firing it in. Here's Stewart along the boards. Back of the net. Here it is centered by Washington out in front, and Mulvey centering pass intercepted. Back comes Tremblay. Tremblay shot for Montreal wide of the net. Lambert along the board. Centered one. Mario Tremblay a try. Cleared away, and coming up with a loose puck is Hextall. There's Dennis Hextall to center ice. Still has control of it. He's number 12. Got it into the zone. Mario Tremblay fired it back out. Now Washington on the attack. Here's Ristling shooting wide. Back of the net. Gary Ristling, another Washington rookie, centered to Patey. He's knocked down. Going to be a penalty. Here is a pass by Risebrough, flipping it into the Washington zone. And as the Capitals go back and get possession, play is called. And a hooking penalty coming up against the Washington Capitals. With the score, Montreal nothing, Washington nothing. This is NHL 79.
Celebrate its 50th anniversary. Minolta has added a great new feature to all the automatic features of the electronic Minolta XG7 35mm reflex camera. A $25 cash rebate. And to the exceptional versatility and automatic features of the deluxe Minolta XD11, we've added a $35 rebate. This fabulous Minolta offer will end soon, so hurry and act now. Minolta, the automatic choice for value.
Doug Patey of the Capitals getting a hooking penalty here.
You know, Patey is one of the players that the Capitals called up from their Hershey Farm Club to take over, and makes his presence felt right away. But watch out now.
Canadians on the power play, get it back to Lafleur. A scoreless game. Here's Savard at the left point to Lafleur. In on the wing, a shot, and blasting it wide. Here's Savard at the point. Now to Lafleur. Lafleur tries the shot. That deflects off a skate. Capitals trying to work it out of there. Marouk along the boards, couldn't get it up. Pierre LaRouche a drive. He shot wide. Now Robert Picard for Washington, clearing it down the ice. Savard and Lafleur, the point men for Montreal. LaRouche, Houle, and Shut up front. Here's Savard for LaRouche. LaRouche to center, in across the line, upended at the defense, got it into Steve Shutt, then Shutt is bounced into the boards by Picard. There's Savard at the point to Lafleur, shooting, and Bedard went to his knees and made a glove save. And Bedard has been sharp here in the early going as we look at the Capitals' fine young defenseman, Robert Picard.
Well, he can certainly throw his weight around. Very, very steady defenseman, and moves people around from in front of that net. You know, the Capitals, when they're killing a penalty there, Dan, they're certainly not putting any pressure on the Canadiens, letting them come right at right out of their own zone and making it very easy for Montreal to move into the Washington zone. Well, so we'll have to watch for that. And we notice that Steve Shutt is leaving the ice and going to the dressing room.
That was on the hit by Robert Picard. Here is Picard, number 24, to center ice. Into the Washington zone. Picard trying to work around Savard, trying to center. He's checked. Now the Capitals get possession. Lambert for Montreal, tying up Hextall on the boards, and Savard circles back. Montreal on the power play. Here's Lafleur. On left wing to number 11, Lambert. He's bumped by Lane. Going in after it is Tremblay for Montreal. Mario Tremblay. Circle centered. Lambert, a shot, and Bedard came across and got a stick on it. Now Savard to Lafleur. Lafleur's shot. Knocked down in front of the net. Centered. There's Lambert after it. He's tied up by Hextall. Lambert back to Savard. Serge Savard, a shot. Stopped at the defense. Now Lafleur to Savard. A drive. Bedard, a pad save. A rebound. And falling as he went to shoot was Tremblay. And the Capitals clear up the center ice. Now here is Lemaire for Montreal. Jacques Lemaire to center ice. 4 seconds left in the penalty. Now Lafleur for the Canadiens moving in, and the play is offside at the Washington blue line with just 2 seconds left in the penalty to Doug Patey of the Washington Capitals.
And the fans certainly appreciate that effort by the Capitals. They just scratched and clawed there in their own zone. And good work there by Lambert and Tremblay, you know, trying to get position in front of the net. But the Capitals, they survived this one.
Jim Bedard has had to face 7 shots from the Canadiens. The Capitals as yet have not had a shot on goal. We have 14:28 left in the first period. Now the penalized player Patey comes back on. Here's Swenson for Washington to Doug Patey. Cleared it into the Canadian zone. Houle trying to work it out on the right wing side to Jarvis. Jarvis flipping one into the Washington zone. Bedard back of the net, leaves it for Sirois. Sirois double team behind the goal. Now Swenson on the left wing side for Ryan Walter. Walter at center ice to Chara off the mark, and here's Gainey for Montreal. To Jarvis with a long flip shot. Bedard steers that aside, cleared it himself. Jarvis digging in, tries to center. Jack Lynch for Washington. Tried to shoot it out. Gainey held it in. Now centered. There's a chance, and Houle was checked before he could shoot, and Lynch shoots it away for Washington, with Gainey going back to get it. And as he does, an icing call against the Washington Capitals.
You know, a couple of things here, Dan. There we see Shutt coming back, so I guess he's going to be all right. But what the Washington Capitals are doing in their own zone, they're rifling that puck around the boards, but it seems like their wingers are up almost close to the blue line. And, of course, when the Canadiens see that, they're pinching right in and not enabling the Capitals to gain good possession. So because of that fact, I think Montreal is going to get some good scoring chances, and unless Washington loosens things up and tries to come out the middle a few times.
Jim Bedard, just up from Hershey, has been a key factor here for the Capitals. He's from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Played his junior hockey in Sudbury, then played with Dayton of the International League, and is just up from Hershey of the American League, although he did start the season with Washington. Here's Lapointe losing it to Chara. Shoots, he scores! Guy Chara steals the puck and beats Dryden, and the Capitals on their first shot on goal have a 1-0 lead.
Well, that's what I call taking advantage of a good situation. You know, they got a break, and Sharon steals the puck from Lapointe, and you notice Dryden comes out, but unable to make the save on Sirois. That's kind of a do-or-die situation, a hit-or-miss thing for Dryden. Either comes out and blocks that shot, or he's dead. And in this particular case, Washington capitalizes.
6:39, an unassisted goal by Guy Chara. The Capitals have a 1-0 lead. Here's LaRouche, number 28 for Montreal, into the Washington zone. Moves in on the wing, fired a shot wide of the net. Now Rowe trying to clear it out. Here's Dennis Marouk. Ahead to Edberg. Edberg for Washington. His shot, and Dryden makes a glove save and held on to it. Well, the Capitals' Guy Charron, with his 201st career goal, gives Washington a lead. This is NHL 79, live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland.
I may have a bar in my office, but Lawson has a Sony.
Darn. I thought they were going to give me a Sony.
Most people feel very special about Sony Trinitron Color TVs, probably because Sony Trinitron Color TVs are very special. You see, it's not just a TV, it's a Sony.
Dad, I have a date coming over tonight. Can I borrow the Sony?
This is NHL 79. Dan Kelly, Gary Dornhofer, and Scott Wally at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, where the Capitals lead the Canadiens 1-0 with 12:55 left in the first period. Face-off in the Montreal zone. Here's Schutt breaking out of there. He's checked. Now Picard shot it back in, and that causes an offside at the Montreal Canadiens blue line. What can we say about this man, number 18 for the Canadiens, Serge Savard, that we haven't said several times before, Mr. Dornhofer?
Right, Dan. Just a tremendous defenseman. The key, he always makes that good play. You know, he gets that puck ahead of their forwards.
Canadians controlling the faceoffs here in the early going. Get control here. They've won 7 of 10 faceoffs thus far. Here's Lemaire firing it in. Bedard out of the net to clear it, and he cleared it up over the glass. And the faceoff is going to be in the Washington zone to the left of Jim Bedard. Scotty Bowman, the coach of the Montreal Canadiens, 4 Stanley Cups in his tenure at Montreal.
Well,
and 3 in a row.
He hasn't done too badly. And I'll tell you, until somebody beats them, they're still the best.
Here's Lemaire on the faceoff. Now in behind the goal. Tremblay for Washington, pinned there by Steve Schutt. Schutt comes up with the puck, gets it in front. Here's a shot by the defenseman Lupien, and back comes Marouk for Washington. Firing it ahead to Tom Rowe. Can't catch up with it. Riding out of the net to clear it away. Lupien along the boards. Feeding it out for Schutt. He's checked by Picard. Now Picard to Marouk. Dennis Marouk being checked by Lemaire. And Lafleur cleared it, but Marouk is after it again. Here's Marouk dropping it back, and Lafleur feeds to center to Lemaire. And Picard gets back to cover Lemaire and clear it to center ice. Now the rookie, Brent Tremblay, number 11 for Washington. Just up from Hershey, moving in, shoots one, and riding a stick save on Brent Tremblay. Canadians dump it into the Washington zone. Bedard out of the net, cleared it out to center ice. Mondeau back to his own line to Schutt. Now Rowe for Washington. Here's Rowe. Upended on the play as he tried to move in by Mario Tremblay. And Chartrand has it for the Canadiens. To Lupien. Lupien on left wing, squeezed against the boards by Paul Mulvey, and they hold it there. And the faceoff will be just outside the Montreal Canadiens blue line. Mulvey and Lupien having some words.
Little disagreement there. You know, Dan, right now we have a real fast pace going here. Both teams are skating exceptionally well, moving that puck, and it looks like they have a good ice surface out there too. The one thing about the Capitals, talking to Gary Ennis, he said that at home they are playing very offensive-minded and causing a lot of 3-on-2 breaks, but so far they've kept the Canadiens off the board.
At number 27 is Paul Mulvey of Washington, you were watching. He's the second-round draft choice of the Capitals, out on left wing. Capitals holding it in. Here is Swenson at the point. Checked by Lambert, who got it to center, and Dennis Hextall drops it back to Gord Lane. Lane up the middle for Mulvey. Got it into the Canadian zone. Engblom cleared it out. Here's Lambert. He's checked. There's Blair Stewart for Washington. Engblom checked him. Now Hextall for the Capitals to Mulvey. Mulvey along the boards to the veteran. Hextall back to Mulvey, and just out of his reach. Mondeau for Mario Tremblay. Back to Mondeau. And Pierre Mondeau, number 6, into the Capital zone. Leaves it for Lambert. Back to Mondeau. Covering up and clearing it away was Mulvey. Canadians, Lambert held it in. Bedard slides it into the corner. Mario Tremblay centered. No one in position. Now Chartrand gets it behind the net. Mondeau has it there. Flipped it in front. And intercepting is Mulvey. Shooting it off the boards and down the ice. And the Capitals are going to be called for icing on the play. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals.
Think about this. The best way to save money is with more than one kind of savings account. If you want some of your money to earn interest and be available whenever you need it, use our day-to-day account. If you want some to earn higher interest and can leave it in our bank for 90 days, use our 90-day Wonder account. Remember, using one account isn't the right way to save. Our day-to-day and 90-day Wonder combination is one of the best ways to make your money work hardest for you. Saving at European American Bank. Think about it.
Minutes, 20 seconds left in the first period. Washington leading Montreal 1-0. Here's Jarvis on the face-off in the Capital zone. The Capitals come up with the puck, and here's Picard. Number 24 in on right wing for Patey. Patey shoots, and Dryden a glove save on the short side. Back is Geeney for Montreal to Houle at center. Gets it into the Washington zone. Bedard sets it up back of the net. Cleared it on the boards for Picard. Off his stick. Now Risebrough in front. Broken up, and the Capitals start back, but play is called, and a holding penalty coming up against Washington and against Jack Lynch for an incident in front of the net, and Lynch goes off for holding. And the Canadiens will gear up their power play.
I was just going to say, Jack, don't say any more. You get another one. You know, he started saying something to Ron Wicks there. Just go to the penalty box. Here you're going to see it again where really isn't much question there. Lynch has him tied up pretty good. And give the Canadiens another opportunity. And, of course, we know how devastating their power play is, the way they move that puck around.
Canadiens have scored 57 power play goals, a 29.7 power play efficiency, second best in the league, second only to the Islanders. They're trailing in this game 1-0. Here is Montreal on the power play. Lambert in front to LaRouche. LaRouche is shot. They score! LaRouche with a neat move in front of the net. And I am not sure whether it was tipped in after the play by LaRouche by Houle or not, but the Canadiens strike quickly on the power play.
Just watch this move that LaRouche makes. And, you know, when you're taking LaRouche, you have to take his body. You know, you can't go for that shift. And it slips it right through Bedard's legs for the tire. Real great move.
So LaRouche gets the goal just 9 seconds into the power play.
Assist to Q Lapointe on the power play at 10:14.
Lapointe gets an assist, the time of the goal, 10:14. It's a 1-1 game here in Landover, Maryland. Risebrough to Guy Lapointe. Lapointe at center for Jarvis, tips it into the Washington zone. Picard back for the Capitals. Cleared it over on the board. Sirois, number 25 for Washington, tied up by Risebrough. Now Geeney at the point, shoots one, and that deflected off Lynch just wide of the net. Walter behind the goal for Picard. Cleared it over on the boards. Walter checked, and here's Picard taking over. Right wing pass to Sirois into the Canadian zone, and Geeney fired it back out the center. Picard has it there. Picard flipping it off the boards to Chirac, who has scored the Capitals goal. And it's called back on a two-line offside from inside the Washington blue line to the Montreal side of center ice. You talked about the great move that LaRouche made. He faked the shot and had Picard go down. And LaRouche gets the goal, his 5th of the year. 8th of the year, pardon me. Lambert and Lapointe assisting, a power play goal.
Yeah, especially for a defenseman. You just can't watch that puck at all. You just have to go for the man's body and make sure that he doesn't slip that puck through your legs. Just take him. It's easy up here, though, isn't it, Dan?
Here's Lupian. Well, you have the reason to make comparison. You have been in both positions. I have only been here. It is easier here, huh?
Better believe it.
Danny Belisle, the coach of the Washington Capitals, 41-year-old man who took over the Capitals just prior to the start of the regular season this year after coaching with Philadelphia in the American League. Former hockey player, but played only briefly in the NHL, most of his career in the minor leagues. Here's Montreal. Cam Connor, number 20, checked in the play, and Sirois comes back for Washington to center. Serge Savard to Lemaire. Over on the other wing for Chartrand. Chartrand gives it to Lemaire. Lemaire moving in, shoots one, and he shot it wide. Lupia at the left point. Puts it into the corner. Swenson has it for Washington. Lee Swenson trying to move it out of there. Chartrand moves in and ties up Sirois on the boards, and they hold it there. And the faceoff will be in the Washington zone.
You know, I don't think Scotty would be very happy if he saw all three players over on the left-hand side. As we have a look at Big Lupien. I'm sorry, Chartres. I'm looking at the wrong screen. They have a video replay, also big screen here in the Capitol, and I was looking at that one.
We better hang a sheet over that one and focus on this one, or we'll get confused. Here's Lupia's shot from the point. Wide of the net. Savard gets it to Lemaire to Lafleur. In front to Shutt, a backhander wide of the net. Edberg, number 10 for the Capitals. Trying to fire it up. Lupien held it in, shooting, and that deflected just wide. Bedard may have got a piece of it. Lafleur to Lemaire. In front for Shutt, back to Lemaire. Now Shutt a chance, and it's blocked at the defense, and Marouk has it for Washington. Number 21, Dennis Marouk, flipping it for Rowe. Rowe at center for Edberg. He dropped it back, and the Capitals move up ice. Here's the rookie Brent Tremblay shooting it in. Lupien feeds to Lafleur. Leaving it for Lemaire. Back to Lafleur. Brent Tremblay and Lafleur go to the corner. Tremblay now tying up Shutt. Now center to Lemaire. Back to Lafleur. Behind the net. And Picard, while flat on the ice, was able to take it away from Lafleur. Marouk trying to clear it, and does, into the center ice area. Lupien for Montreal to Lafleur. Taken out of the play by Rowe. Now Lupien feeding it into the Washington zone. Edberg is there. Shot it to center, and Marouk takes over. Lead pass on right wing to Rowe off his skate into the Montreal zone. And Gilles Lupien has it there. Cleared it to the line. Now Lambert at center ice for Mario Tremblay. Tremblay shoots, he scores! Tremblay pulling Bedard with a slap shot into the top corner, and the Canadiens lead 2-1.
Oh, Tremblay unloaded one there, Dan. He just got over that that blue line and let a Whistler go. See, and took the puck away. Lets a slap shot go and catches Bedard on the glove side, high in the left-hand corner. There you see it again. Just handcuffed Bedard.
So Tremblay gets his 25th goal of the year.
Assist to number 11, Yvonne Perez.
And from the face-off, they hold the puck against the boards just near center ice. With the score, the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1. This is NHL 79.
Super Saver rates. Special rates that save you money. Like our 7-day See America rate.
Look out, L.A. Bye.
Or our special holiday rates.
We get to go to grandmother's house.
And on weekends, Avis Super Saver rates can save you up to 50% off our weekday rates.
50% off?
Up to 50%.
See you Monday.
Call our toll-free number or your travel consultant. Some restrictions do apply.
85.
Mario Tremblay, his 25th goal, giving the Canadiens a 2-1 lead, and that's where we stand here in Landover, Maryland. Now Gainey for Montreal comes to center, flips one in. Bedard off to the side of the net, cleared it along the boards, and here's Big Mulvey for Washington. Paul Mulvey at center ice for the veteran Hextall. Dennis Hextall leaving it for Blair Stewart. Into the corner for Hextall. Hextall tied up by Lapointe. Now Lambert for Montreal trying to hold it there. Stewart piles into the corner, and they gang up and hold it. And we'll have a face-off in the Montreal Canadiens zone to the left of Ken Dryden. We look at Yvonne Lambert. Coming up on NHL 79 this Saturday afternoon, the Boston Bruins and the Minnesota North Stars in Bloomington, Minnesota. And then next Monday night, the Detroit Red Wings will play the same Montreal Canadiens at the Forum in Montreal. 8 o'clock Eastern time. And both the Saturday and Monday games seen on most of these same stations. On NHL 79, here's Gainey clearing it down the ice. Bedard out of the net, setting it up for Swenson. Swenson shooting it out on the left wing side, comes to center where Guy Lapointe takes over to Gainey. Gainey, a pass ahead to Mondeau, tipped it in. Bedard out of the net to clear it away. Now the Capitals get it to center. Mulvey races after it. Mulvey, backhander, and he shot it wide. He was bothered by Lapointe as he went to let the shot go. Capitals clear it down the ice. Number 4, Leif Swenson for the Capitals on right wing for Blair Stewart. Over onto the other side for Mulvey, now to Hextall, but Houle intercepts. Ray-Jean Houle, number 15. Tries to drop it back. Blair Stewart comes up with it for Washington. Here's Stewart. Moving in. His shot goes off. Lupia wide of the net. Jarvis now bumped by Mulvey against the boards. Here's Picard at the point closing in. Risebrough knocked it down. But play is called, and we're going to have... I think we're going to have a high sticking penalty here against the Canadiens. Lupia seems to have caught the eye of referee Ron Wicks. It happened back behind the play, Gary, and I didn't see it, but Ron Wicks didn't miss it.
Well, he was retaliating there, Dan. Mulvey had taken one of the Canadian smaller players into the boards, and Lupien took offense to this and tried to get Mulvey. And of course, Ron Wicks was standing right there watching.
Blair Stewart had moved in. And that's where the offense occurred, apparently, as he knocked down Blair Stewart, did Gilles Lupia. So Lupia goes off. They call it high sticking, and the Canadiens will be shorthanded. Canadiens lead the game 2-1. Here is Washington on the power play. They've scored 43 power play goals this year. Canadiens are the best penalty killing team in the league with a percentage of over 82%. Here is a shot from the point by Picard, blocked by Savard, and Gainey has it. And Gainey fires it down the ice. Gainey and Jarvis are the penalty killers. Savard and Lapointe on defense. Capitals, Jack Lynch, number 2 behind his own goal, giving it to Charron. Charron on right wing for Sirois. He dumps it into the Montreal zone. Racing in is Walter. Lapointe cleared it away. And Gainey feeds to Jarvis. Number 21, Doug Jarvis. Moves in, a weak shot handled easily by Bedard, and Sirois takes over for Washington. Sirois out on left wing to the rookie Walter. At center to Charron. Savard breaks it up. Picard carries on for Washington. Robert Picard shoots and he shot wide. Now Lynch at the point. His shot blocked at the defense. Walter after the puck gets it over onto the wing to Picard. Now to Charron. Back to Lynch. In front of the net and deflected just wide by Sirois. Sirois to Walter in front of the net. Banned on his shot. Now Ryan Walter, a backhander, and he shot just wide. Sirois for the Capitals, who have pressure on. Gets it in front of the net. Canadiens clear it. Sirois held it into Picard. Centers wanted it. It's cleared away by Savard. Now Lynch's shot. Loose in front of the net. Charron for Washington. Centered one. Walter a poke at it. Guy Lapointe went down and blocked it in front of the net. Canadians shorthanded and having trouble at this point as Savard finally gets it out of the zone. 22 seconds left in the penalty as the Capitals move back in. And it's offside at the Montreal blue line.
Well, that was good pressure there by the Capitals. They worked both the corners. And here's a good chance for right here where Walters comes out right out in front of the net and just shoots it wide of the corner. But everybody played very aggressively there. They're working in the corners, moving that puck around, and had the Canadiens out of position almost the whole 2 minutes.
2 of Ken Dryden's 5 shutouts against the Capitals this year. That last Montreal scoring play, Mario Tremblay's 25th of the year from Lambert at 13:04 here in the first period. 20 seconds left in Lupia's penalty as the Canadiens clear it to center ice. Now the rookie Brent Tremblay dropped it back for Swenson. Back to Brent Tremblay. Tremblay, number 11, playing his first game in the NHL tonight. To Edberg. Now to Swenson. Swenson on right wing for Rowe. Gets it into the Montreal zone. Number 3, Engblom back to get it. And as he touches it, icing is called against Washington. And at the same time, the penalty to Lupia expires. He's back on, and Montreal has killed it off.
You know, that was a good power play by the Capitals. Prior to that, Montreal had the Capitals hemmed in their own zone almost the last 10 minutes. And so that was a great opportunity. Unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalize, but showed a lot of life.
Ready for a face-off to the right of the Capitals goal. LaRouche gets the draw. It goes behind the net for Swenson. Lee Swenson, number 4. Circles back behind the net again to get away from LaRouche and gets the job done. Cleared it, but right on to Shutstick. Now Shutt tied up by Swenson, who got it to center ice. Engblom to Chartrand. Chartrand firing it into the Washington zone. Dennis Baruch back to pick it up for Rowe. Rowe tied up on the play. Now it is LaRouche being checked by Swenson. Comes to the line. Engblom a drive. A pad save by Bedard. And here's Rowe, number 17. Rowe with a weak shot wide of the Montreal goal. Edberg digs into the corner. Gets it in behind the net. Now Dennis Marouk tied up by Chartrand. Edberg checked by Lafleur. Chartrand trying to hold it there. Edberg trying to battle it loose, and back come the Canadiens. LaRouche feeds it ahead to Shutt, broken up and cleared away by Gord Lane. Canadiens then cleared, and Chartrand shot it up over the glass, and the faceoff will be at the Montreal blue line. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals.
Right now, there's a new era of deals on Ford's new era of wheels. Like the 79 Ford Fairmont, not so basic transportation. Get a vinyl roof 2.3-liter engine, exterior decor, other options. Get over $200 off. Or the 79 Ford Futura. Right now, a deal is standard equipment. The 79 Pinto, more car for less than you'd believe possible. The 79 Mustang and others. Even the 79 Ford LTD, luxury with a conscience. At your local Ford dealer while it lasts.
2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in the first period. Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1. Serge Savard for Montreal from the faceoff, firing it out to center ice. Here's Robert Picard shooting it back in, and Hextall was trapped in there offside. Dennis Hextall started this season with the Detroit Red Wings and let go by the Red Wings, and now finishing this campaign with the Washington Capitals. A veteran hockey player in the National Hockey League in his 10th year and with his 6th NHL team. Here's Picard to Lane. Now to Picard. Ahead on left wing to Mulvey. Savard cleared it. Picard dumps it right back in. Savard for Montreal to Lupien. Pace is slowed down some here as the checking gets a little closer at this point. Lupien luring it into the Washington zone. Blair Stewart back after it, and as he touches it, an icing call against the Montreal Canadiens. This telecast comes to you through courtesy of NHL 79 and is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey League solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is prohibited. The announcers on this telecast have been selected and are employed by NHL 79. A minute 48 left in the period. Canadiens hold a 2-1 lead. Face-off in the Montreal zone. Hextall gets the draw. Mulvey couldn't center the pass, and here's Gainey moving back for Montreal, shooting it into the Capital zone, and the play is called back on an offside at the Washington Capital blue line. Well, we mentioned Bob Gainey is going to be Scott Wally's first intermission guest. He's not only a great hockey player, but a very articulate young man.
Well, I'll tell you, I think every team would like to have a Bob Gainey out there. He does so many things and does them so well. Good competitor.
Gainey is out on defense right now with Guy Lapointe. The Canadiens have Lemaire, Connor, and Lafleur up front. Here's Picard for Washington. Ahead on left wing for Mulvey. Mulvey got it into the Canadian zone, cleared back out. Now Connor on left wing moves in with Lafleur. Connor's high shot. Here's Picard in the corner for number 28, Gord Lane. Lane shooting it around on the boards for Mulvey. Mulvey got it outside the line. Cam Connor carries back for Montreal. He was checked, and Hextall takes over for Washington. Number 12, Dennis Hextall, leaves it for Gord Lane. Fires it up the middle, and it goes all the way down the ice. Lapointe and Mulvey race in after it. Lapointe gets there first, and it's icing against the Washington Capitals. Now to the host of NHL 79, Scott Wally.
Thank you, Dan. On Thursday, Montreal defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1, and after that game, Roger Neilson was fired as coach. On Saturday, before the Leafs would play another game against the Flyers, Neilson was back behind the bench. We'll have a report on that strange series of events, along with a talk with Bob Gainey, and first period highlights between the first and second periods.
A little bit of problems on the ice, nothing serious. Cam Connor and Mulvey, I think we're having a little discussion.
A little disagreement, Dan.
Paul Mulvey, by the way, of the Capitals, is the younger brother of Grant Mulvey of the Chicago Blackhawks. He was the #2 draft choice of Washington in the amateur draft last June. 1:02 left in the period. Face-off in the Capital zone. Canadians get the draw. Here's Houle backhanding it in behind the net. Swenson for Washington, lost it to Houle. Houle moving in, a backhander, and Bedard flat on the ice was able to make the save. Or was it that Houle was unable to get it up over top of him?
I think a combination of both. Houle comes right out in front of the net and makes a real good move. And, of course, Bedard, he goes right down, and Houle's on his backhand. And he really doesn't know where Bedard is and unable to lift it over him.
Now 50 seconds left in the period. Canadians leading 2-1 from the face-off. Swenson and the referee collide. Ryan Walter for Washington. Lead pass to Sirois. Can't catch up with it. And Savard is back for the Canadians. Where did Walter knocked it down in front to Chirac? Chirac in front to Sirois. Dryden trying to clear it away. Canadians finally do, and back comes Houle. Houle checked at the red line by Walter. Now Sirois lost it to Savard. 20 seconds left in the period. Savard to Guy Lapointe. Lapointe for the Canadians to Jarvis, who shot it in, but Jack Lynch knocked it down there. He dumps it down the ice. And going back is Savard. And as Serge Savard touches it, icing against Washington, and a face-off coming up in the Capital zone with just 7 seconds left here in the first period.
Dan, that's always a dangerous play. You know, the Capitals had plenty of time there to make a play without icing it. And this gives Montreal another opportunity for a good chance. And as you see, the shots where Montreal certainly is dominating this period. And Bedard has only allowed 2 goals, played exceptionally well.
7 seconds left. Doug Jarvis will take this face-off for the Canadians. Dennis Baruch will try it for the draw for Washington. All ready for the draw. A pair of number 21s. Jarvis for the Canadians. Baruch for Washington. Puck is dropped, and the Capitals. Baruch wins the draw, and Picard cleared it off the boards. Here's Rowan after it. Shoots, and Dryden. A pad save. I'm not sure whether the play was offside or not, but Dryden made the save anyway, and with that point, or with that play, the period comes to an end. I think the play was offside, so that was not a shot on goal. Shots on goal. Montreal in the first period out-shooting the Capitals 14-4, and the Canadians lead in the hockey game after 1 period 2-1. Now to the host of NHL 79, Scott Wally.
Well, thank you, Dan. The Capitals have a good ratio going. Goals scored to shots attempted, 4-1. But they only have 1 goal, as so many times it has happened this season. The Montreal Canadiens find themselves trailing the Capitals in the early going. First goal of the game, Guy Chiron's 24th at 6:39. But then the Caps came back, Pierre LaRouche and Mario Tremblay scoring before the period ends. 2-1 is the score after 1 period of play here at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. And so at the end of the first period, Montreal 2, Washington 1. We pause now for station identification. This is NHL 79.
Read a report on 60 Minutes. Do those crusades really pay off? Don't miss the new issue of TV Guide magazine.
Well, off on another last-minute business trip, huh?
Yeah, gonna fly the old friendly skies.
You know you could take someone along for half fare?
My wife and I didn't have time to...
No advance notice. She just walks up with you, pays half fare, and away you go.
You mean I could have...
And did you know you could take your kids for free?
Oh.
They could be with you right now. No charge.
Oh, thanks, United. I'll be right back.
The savings are bigger and the restrictions are smaller.
Fly the friendly skies.
Your Harley dealer offers a unique line of motorcycles. None meant to be all things to all people. Touring, sport, custom, street, Harley gives riders real choices. Because we make motorcycles for individuals, not masses. Until you've been on a Harley-Davidson, you haven't been on a motorcycle.
See all the 79 Harley-Davidson motorcycles at Manus Harley-Davidson, Stratford, Connecticut, Brewster Harley-Davidson, Harley-Davidson of Essex.
We're back at the Capitol Center. 1 period of play has been played, and Montreal leads Washington by a score of 2-1. And my guest is Bob Gainey. all-star left winger turned defenseman of the Montreal Canadiens. And Bob, we have to qualify ourselves when we say the Canadiens might be having defensive problems because they've given up the fewest number of goals in the league. Scotty Bowman says he needs you on defense. Why the move?
Well, I think we lost 2 defensemen last year, and they've been looking for somebody to fill a pretty big hole, a guy like Bill Nyrup or Pierre Bouchard, whoever was in there. And I guess he must feel we haven't had the consistency. We've had good games out of a few guys at different times, but I guess not the guy he wanted. So I guess I'm just the next person to be given a try at the position.
Well, you won the Frank Selke Trophy last year for being the league's best defensive forward, so you certainly have the defensive instinct. But it's got to be a big change from the forward line to defense. What's been the biggest adjustment you've had to make?
Well, the adjustment isn't too bad if you get in and play a few games. I've been in and out more lately because I haven't been playing as well back there either. And it's getting prepared for the game in a certain position, but the backward skating is something, especially as a winger and lateral movement, that you don't get playing on the wing, that you have to have as a defenseman. A centerman would have a little bit more the way he moves on the ice, but wingers are pretty well up and down, and you try to stay close to the boards and you have your bearings. I'd say that's probably my biggest problem, just the adjustment in the skating from backwards, changing and having to chase somebody forwards, and the play around the net. I seem to lose my bearings easily and maybe don't react to situations quick enough around the net.
Bob, you played for Roger Nielsen and juniors. What is your reaction to this story in Toronto over the last few days?
Well, it's quite interesting, really. Of course, you never know what Mr. Ballard's going to do in Toronto. Roger, I think anybody who's played for him considers him a very good coach. I feel there must have been some sort of breakdown between him and the players, because once they seemed to relate to each other a little bit better after things had happened, maybe things had gone further than they should have, they seemed to agree, the players seemed to agree that he was the coach for them, and he seemed to be wanting to stay there. So it just seemed like maybe they weren't communicating with each other enough, and maybe the problem has been solved, at least for a while there. You can never tell.
Thank you, Bob. And best of luck the rest of this game, huh?
You're welcome.
Capitals are playing well out there, but they're trailing by 1 goal, 2-1. Bob Gainey, the defenseman, former left winger, now defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. Coming up, a report on Roger Nielsen, his firing, subsequent reinstatement as coach of the Maple Leafs. With a score, Montreal 2 and Washington 1, our intermission continues in just a moment.
Need lumber and building materials at the right prices? Come to Tafaro Lumber. Planning to put up a suspended ceiling or install paneling in your home? Need raw lumber for improvements? Tafaro Lumber offers a full line of lumber and building supplies. Speedy service, free local delivery, and free advice for the do-it-yourselfer. For all your lumber and building needs, it's Tafaro Lumber, 5106 Kennedy Boulevard in West New York, New Jersey. Just 5 minutes from the Lincoln Tunnel for the right prices. Call 201-863-4123.
Our name is Dodgeland, but since we have an incredibly large selection of new and used cars, trucks, and vans, maybe it should be Selection Land. But we're famous for incredible values. So what about Value Land? But on the other hand, we have instant credit approval and up to 4 years to pay. So maybe Credit Land. But we also have great discounts. So what about Discount Land? No, Dodge Land says it all. And we're only minutes from the Lincoln Tunnel, Route 22, Springfield, New Jersey. We challenge you to find better prices anywhere. You can save hundreds of dollars and drive home with a new car today. Why do you think more people came to Dodge Land than any other Dodge dealer? Don't cheat yourself. Come to Dodge Land. The whole world can't be wrong.
Dodge Land, world's largest Dodge dealer, Route 22, Springfield, New Jersey.
The National Hockey League season is winding down toward the playoffs now. Some clubs like Montreal, Boston, the New York Islanders are shoo-ins. Others like Toronto are struggling and are not sure bets at this point. Yet there is just as much, if not more, pressure to win in Toronto than in any other contending city. Last Thursday, playoff pressure hit the Maple Leafs straight on at the Forum in Montreal. Toronto losing to the Canadiens 2-1 on a late third period goal by Jacques Lemaire.
And then the story began. Leafs president Harold Ballard left the Montreal Forum immediately following Lemaire's goal. His mind made up to fire coach Roger Nielsen. He spoke the words when stopped by reporter Dick Beddoes. Yes, Nielsen was through. John McClellan would take over the team tomorrow. Following the 2-1 loss to Montreal, Nielsen, sensing but not wanting to know his fate, congratulated his players for an excellent effort. And he walked to the dressing room, where he would hear secondhand news seen firsthand by 1 million television viewers. That was Thursday. Yesterday, the scene shifted to Maple Leaf Gardens. A comic opera began.
I was asked to resign, and I didn't want to resign, and so I was fired.
Are you bitter about the way it was handled, the fact that the television audience knew before you did officially?
Well, we didn't know officially, or I didn't know officially until this morning, so it was too bad it leaked out that way, but these things happen.
Because everybody seems all upset that this has happened, yet in the last couple of weeks, everybody's been saying how horrendous a job the team's been doing. You got to blame the coach. So you can't have it both ways. You got to stand up and be counted. And Roger and I both knew that our jobs are in jeopardy. When you're in this business, your jobs are in jeopardy at all times. So he was told that if things didn't get better, that there were going to have to be some changes.
Do you feel the players let Roger down? You're part to blame.
Well, we all feel like complete idiots because we cost a man that gave 24 hours devotion to the game, and it was our fault. It was nobody else's. You know, Roger never coached himself out of a job. We played him out of a job.
Almost to a man, the players gave Roger Nielsen a vote of confidence. Later that afternoon, Captain Darryl Sittler approached owner Ballard about reinstating the Leafs coach. And later on, he was reinstated or asked to come back, while Ballard insisted the whole thing was just a ploy to get the Leafs going once again. But if Nielsen's firing was not a well-kept secret, his reinstatement was. Saturday night, the Flyers playing the Leafs at Maple Leaf Gardens. No one knew just who was going to be coaching the Leafs.
Brian McFarland with Bill Hewitt and Gary Dornhofer, and like all of you, we're just tingling here, waiting to see what's going to happen. And here comes Roger Nielsen, and the crowd is aware of it now. The crowd did not know that Roger Nielsen would be back at that bench until this very moment, and they are standing. And now the word is spreading through the stands. Gary Dornhofer, have you ever seen anything like this in all your years in hockey?
I'll tell you, Brian, it never happened to me as a player, but this is like a soap opera here, and I think this ought to be a good special for TV.
Roger Nielsen back of the Leaf bench once again. Fired yesterday, back on the job today, and the crowd is still reacting. And the face-off is going to go, and I don't know whether referee Wally Harris is going to drop the puck. Bill's ready right beside me, but this is some moment. I've never seen anything like this in the sport of hockey. I don't expect it ever will again.
We'll never see it again. And look at them, they won't sit down.
The big question is, Brian, how will the players react? They should be sky high for this one.
It couldn't be much else, I wouldn't think. There's King Clancy, Harold Ballard with a change of heart today. I don't know whether it was a ploy. I think it was a change of heart. He was convinced perhaps by the Leaf players who feel very strongly toward this man, Roger Nielsen. What a 24 hours he's gone through. He can't hold back a grin.
And play is underway.
The Maple Leafs went on to beat the Flyers that night 4-3, and on Sunday they defeated the New York Rangers 4-2. 2 wins now under their once and present and possibly future coach, Roger Nielsen. Let's take a look now at the playoff picture. First, we'll take a look at the shoe-ins. The division leaders, these folks will get a bye to the quarterfinals. Montreal with 94 points, the Islanders with 90, Boston with 83, and Chicago, leaders in the Smythe division, with 60 points. Second place teams also qualify for first round action, and it's the Rangers, the Los Angeles Kings, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Vancouver Canucks. Then there is the wild card race. 4 teams will qualify. Right now 5 are in the running. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Minnesota with 57. They're now 6 points away. Washington has 50 points. They are 13 points away from a playoff berth right now. Second period action is coming up as NHL 79 continues in just a moment.
Hey, wish you owned a truck
How about this car? Full of gas mileage. The incredible Datsun 210 hatchback. Highest gas mileage car you can buy. The highest gas mileage new car in America. Yes, Datsun saves again with the sporty, gas-stingy Datsun 210. Built as if we had to buy the gas. To give you the best gas mileage.
Think about this. Now you can get an auto loan that has a much lower monthly payment, so you can buy the new car you want. The 60-month auto loan from European American Bank. The monthly payments are lower because you get a full 60 months to repay. And you don't have to be a customer to apply. Just call us any weekday till 9 p.m. Qualify, and you can borrow up to $10,000 to buy the new car you want. The 60-month auto loan from European American Bank. Think about it.
Think about this. Now you can get a line of credit that's completely separate from your checking account. It's called the credit account from European American Bank. Use it to pay off charge accounts, make major purchases whenever you need credit. It has a lower rate of interest than most other forms of credit. Just call, qualify, and get a line of credit from $1,000 to $10,000. To use it, just write one of these checks. The credit account. We believe it's the best source of credit for all your credit needs.
Mario Andretti belongs to a very special circle, the Schaefer Circle. Because he knew that winning the World Driving Championship meant getting every last bit out of your machine and yourself every time. At Schaefer, we brew our beer to taste great every time. Don't you deserve a beer that good?
So come into the Schaefer Circle.
After one period of play in Landover, Maryland, Montreal leads Washington 2-1. Scott Wally talking with Gary Dornhofer. And Gary, as I tried to say a little bit earlier, this is not the first time that the Capitals have scored the first goal against Montreal. They did it again tonight with Guy Charron, but then Canadiens came back with two more before the period ended.
Right, Scott. On their first goal, you know, the Washington still hadn't had a shot on net, and Montreal had accumulated 7, putting a lot of pressure on the Capitals in their own zone, and it was a situation where they had a passing play going, and Charron intercepted a pass, and you're going to see it. It originates in the Capital zone where they come out. Canadiens will get possession. Now, you'll see Gainey moving the puck across to the other side, and very shortly you're going to see Charron come in the picture. Now, Lapointe tries to make that pass, go through a man, which is a no-no, and Charron, he picks up the puck. Now, Dryden comes out. That's a do-or-die situation. It's a hit or miss it. And unfortunately for Dryden, he didn't make contact. Charron puts it in the net.
Of course, Guy Charron's having quite a weekend yesterday against Minnesota, his 200th career goal. Pierre LaRouche at 10-14 for Montreal tied it up.
Well, anytime you give the Canadiens that power play opportunity, watch out. Passing play, Lapointe. Now watch the move LaRouche makes. Picard, you know, you have to take that man. Anytime you go for that puck, you know, you're made a fool of, and you know, it will happen to Picard again before his career is over. But in that situation, LaRouche made a good play, a little shift there, and then puts it through Bedard's legs. But you know, they had a lot of pressure, the Canadiens, on the Capitals that period, and Bedard came up with some great saves to keep him in this hockey game.
Thanks, Gary Dornhofer. We'll be looking forward to your comments along with Dan Kelly in the second period. These highlights brought to you by your local Porsche Audi dealer. After one period of play, Montreal leads Washington 2-1. This portion of NHL 79 has been brought to you by Avis, featuring Super Saver weekend rates, holiday rates, and See America rates. Let Avis try harder for you. And by Sony, treat your eyes to a real feast. Tune into a Sony Color TV with its exclusive Trinitron one-gun, one-lens system.
I like competing against men, but only if they don't patronize me. Then if I win, it's really exciting. You know what else I find exciting? Men who wear English leather cologne. I like the way it smells on men, and I like the kind of men who wear it. I find them to be challenging. When it comes to the battle of the sexes, I don't like pushovers. I guess that's why all my men wear English leather, or they wear nothing at all.
You pilot ships out to open sea through currents that can run you aground.
And the only map you trust is the one you keep in your head. Now comes Miller time. Time to head back for the best tasting beer you can find. Miller High Life.
When it's time to relax, we've got the beer, Miller Beer.
30 years ago, hockey was almost unknown in the Soviet Union. Today, the Russians have some of the most powerful teams in the world. How did they develop into a world power? What was the miracle of Soviet hockey? After 10 torturous seasons, what does the future hold for Bobby Clark, the Flyers' fearless leader? What makes Bob Gainey in the eyes of his teammates as important as anyone on the Canadiens? Will the St. Louis Blues chorus of Blue Angels bring the glamour of cheerleaders to the NHL? What has the Leafs' Tiger Williams said and done lately to infuriate his opponents? When the dressing room door slams shut, what really goes on inside? Read it in Goal, the official magazine of the National Hockey League, now available on your newsstand. Goal magazine. Now you can take all the action home with you. This is the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, just outside the nation's capital and home of the Washington Capitals. First period of tonight's hockey game, the Montreal Canadiens building up a 2-1 lead. Chiron scoring for Washington at 6:39, but then LaRouche on a power play tying it at 10:14, and then Mario Tremblay with his 25th of the year scored at 13:04 to give the Canadiens the lead. The Canadiens out shooting the Capitals 14-4 in the first period. Here's a look at the National Hockey League scoring race. Guy Lafleur, who's in action tonight, leading by 5 points over Brian Trottier of the Islanders. Then it's Marcel Dion of Los Angeles, followed by Mike Bossy of the Islanders. Bossy, as you can see, leading in goals with 51. Then Bob McMillan of the Atlanta Flames with 92. And then Bernie Pederko of the St. Louis Blues with 88. Pederko with 60 assists, and he and Trottier lead the NHL in that department in playmaking. Ken Dryden on the cover of Goal magazine. And Ken Dryden in goal for the Canadiens here tonight. Jim Bedard just up from Hershey of the American League as the Capitals starting goaltender. And we're ready for the second period. With Gary Dornhofer, the former Philadelphia Flyer player. This is Dan Kelly, Scott Wally along as well. And here we go with period 2 as Bob Gainey cleared the puck near the Montreal line. Now Lynch shooting it back in. Gainey back for the Canadiens. Backhands it up over the glass. And the faceoff is going to be in the Montreal zone just to the right of Ken Dryden. We talked about the Washington injuries. Greg Polis is out with a bruised right knee. Defenseman Rick Green is out with a shoulder problem. Defenseman Yvonne Labrie with a pulled groin. Right winger Tim Colas, a top draft choice. A wrist injury. He's out for the year. Also sidelines Pete Scamora and Bob Girard. So the Capitals, 6 players out. Now here comes Risebrough for Montreal. Moving in, trying to center it to Jarvis, broken up by Ryan Walter. Here's Houle behind the net to Jarvis. Picard takes him out of the play. And they hold it along the boards. And the faceoff will be in the Washington zone to the left of Jim Bedard.
There's Risebrough. I'll tell you, he's a pesky little player. We used to hate playing against him because he really gets involved in that line that they have out there. 3 small guys, but they certainly know how to move that puck around and come up with those good plays.
Risebrough is the left winger, Jarvis the center, Houle the right winger. Gainey unable to hold it in at the point, being tied up by Sirois. Now it's shot into the Washington zone, and Lynch, number 2, has it for the Capitals. Jack Lynch trying to beat a pass, intercepted by Lemaire, and the play is offside at the Washington blue line with Steve Shutt moving in ahead of the play on left wing. Well, when you talk about underrated hockey players around the league, here's the name I always bring up, Jacques Lemaire of the Canadiens.
Absolutely, Dan. And, you know, that line doesn't seem the same, you know, without Lemaire in there. One thing I like about him, as soon as he gets that puck on his skate in the offensive zone, that shot is directed at the net.
This is only Lemaire's 35th game of the year. He was bothered by injuries earlier. Lupia for the Canadiens, now flipping it back in, and he flipped it up over the glass, and we'll have another face-off in the center ice area. In the first period, the Canadiens won 18 of 30 face-offs. And speaking of Jacques Lemaire, he was their top face-off man, winning 7 of 10. Dennis Hextall was the Capitals' top face-off man, 6 of 10 draws won by Hextall. There's Lemaire getting it into the Washington zone. The Capitals shoot it back out. Now Lane on right wing for row number 17. Fires into the Canadian zone. Dryden leaves it for Savard. On the right wing boards to Lafleur. Now Lane for Washington holding it in. Savard back of the net again to Steve Shutt. He fanned on it. And Leaf Swenson, number 4, is back for Washington. Swenson trying to get away from Lafleur on left wing to Lane. Got it into the center ice area to Marouk. Now to Rowe. Rowe shoots one, and a glove save by Dryden on Rowe's slap shot. Here's Marouk along the boards trying to center. Canadiens fire it back out. Lane shooting it right back in for Washington. Serge Savard for the Canadiens, number 18. To Lemaire. Lemaire, a lead pass to Shutt. Tied up by Swenson and never got the shot away. Swenson and Lafleur go to the corner. Now Shutt trying to center. Does. Here's Lemaire getting turned around. Shoots one, and he missed by 3 or 4 feet on the short side. Lane back to the net. Trying to hold it there with Steve Shutt. Now around on the left wing side for Edberg, number 10. Another of the Swedish imports to the NHL, but the Capitals cleared down the ice. Lupia back to touch it, and it's icing against Washington. Tom Rowe of the Washington Capitals having an outstanding season. 25 goals so far, more than he's ever scored before in the NHL. We asked him why.
Well, the big reason is I'm playing with Dennis Rourke now. I work to give him a go with him quite a bit. He's a great puck handler, so I let him do all the puck handling, and then I jump in the holes. And when I jump in the holes, I used to get off the quick shot, and look, recently it's been working really well.
And as we mentioned, Tom Rowe with 25 goals to this point in the season. Puck cleared down the ice by the Capitals. Here's Dryden trying to clear it now, centered out in front. Hextall fanned on it on a centering pass by Blair Stewart, and back comes Montreal, shooting it into the Washington zone. Robert Picard for Mulvey off his skate. Lambert along the boards, bumped by Picard. Now here's Mondeau for Montreal, moving in, shoots one high off the glass. Blair Stewart trying to clear it. Lambert knocked it down. Into the corner to Mondeau, centered to Tremblay, drops it to Lapointe. Lapointe in front, and Mondeau fanned on it. On the setup by Lapointe. Picard trying to clear it. Gainey held it in. Now Mondeau does hold it in, and Brent Tremblay gives it to Robert Picard on right wing for Stewart. Stewart shoots it into the Canadian zone. Dryden beating it out himself on the wing. Now Lapointe gets it to Lambert at center to Tremblay. Tremblay shoots one into the Washington zone. Bedard leaves it for Picard. For Stewart on right wing, trying to center to Hextall. Now Picard picks up. In across the line. Shot it in there. Dryden sets it up, and here's Lupien, number 24 for the Canadiens. Leaves for Lapointe. Ahead to Houle. Trying to barge through is Régin Houle, and Bedard cleared it away. Right onto a teammate stick, and back comes Doug Patey to Ristling. To Patey, shoots, and he missed on the short side. Number 23, Gary Ristling. To Lynch, a shot. Dryden, a pad save. Now Savard passes to Risebrough on left wing. He fires it ahead for Jarvis all the way into the Washington zone. And number 28, Lane, has it for the Capitals. For number 23, Gary Ristling. Now in across the line to Lalonde. Here's Lalonde centering for Ristling. Lafleur intercepts. And back comes Cam Connor, number 20. Connor flips it into Lafleur. A shot from a bad angle wide of the net. Bounces all the way back into the Montreal zone. That's Savard back to get it. Savard trying to get away from Ristling to Lupien. Lupien moving in, and Connor jumped in ahead of the play offside at the Washington Capital blue line. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals.
The Porsche 924. Except for the roll bar, harness, and fire extinguisher, it's a showroom model. What
What do racing drivers like about this Porsche?
It's like the car was running on rails.
It's the way that this car comes out of the turns. It's just fantastic.
The cornering, the balance. I've driven Datsun Z's, but I prefer this 924.
Racers helped design this car. Believe me, racers can tell.
What will you like about the Porsche 924? You'll never know till you try one, will you?
If you're going to Canada and you want to get there the easiest way possible, always board a plane that has the word Canada right there on the fuselage.
Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1, 15 minutes, 19 seconds remaining in the second period. Face off at the Montreal blue line, or at the Washington blue line, rather. Here is Lane. Feeds to center to Chiron. In across the line, trying to work around Guinea here. Chiron in front to Walter, who couldn't get his stick on it. Now Lane at the point, a bouncing shot. Dryden grabbed it and held on. And had Ryan Walter been able to get his stick on a goal mouth pass from Chiron, this might be a tied-up game.
You know, this is an exciting line to watch here, Dan. They move the puck around so well, and, you know, all three men, Walter, Chiron, and Sirois, can put that puck in the net.
Capitals about shot the Canadiens here in the second period. 3 shots to 0 thus far. Let's watch that line that Gary Dornhofer talked about. Chiron gets the face-off, but the Canadiens get the puck, clear it around in the boards, trying to shoot it out. Held in by Sirois. Now Lapointe back to the net for Montreal. On the boards to Risebrough. He's pinned there by Sirois. Lynch held it in. His shot stopped by Gainey. And Gainey passes it up to Hull, who shot it to center. Lane fires it right back down for Washington. And Gainey is back to get it. Scotty Bowman takes special precautions against that line. You can see the forward line he has on the ice of Jarvis, Risebrough, and Hull, and he usually saves that for the other team's top offense.
Right, get the checking line out there as we look at Bob Sirois. He used to be Flyers property, and they let him go and turn out to a real score. You know, Dan, when I was downstairs there before, you walk right by the Capitals dressing room, and the players themselves realized that they were not putting pressure in the Montreal zone coming up with that puck, and that's what they're talking about, saying, you know, let's dump that thing in there, but then get in there right on top of the Canadiens, see if we can come up with that puck and get some chances, and so far they've done it in this period.
Here's Lemaire out with Connor and Chartrand for Montreal now against this Capital line. Chiron the face-off against Lemaire. Lemaire kicks at the puck to Lupien. He cleared it into the corner. Connor is there to take Swenson out of the play. Now Chartrand trying to center, and Sirois feeds it out to Walter to Picard. His pass was well behind Chiron, and Lemaire takes over for Montreal, and the play is offside anyway at the Montreal Canadiens blue line.
You know, that's one thing about the Canadiens. If you give them a lot of time to hang on to that puck and make plays in their own zone, you're in for a long night. So you've got to put a little pressure on their defensemen. And if you do that, they're going to cough up the puck just like anybody else.
Canadiens have beaten the Capitals 5 previous meetings this season. This game plus 2 more still to play in the season series as the puck is cleared in by Washington. Lupien back to get it on right wing for Lafleur. Lafleur being forechecked by Marouk. Now in there is Edberg to help out. Here's Picard, a shot from the left point wide and off the glass. Now Lupien behind the net. Edberg is there. Edberg and Lupien go to the corner. Now Marouk in to help out. Capitals hold it in. Picard shooting it in behind the Canadiens' goal. Savard goes to the other corner to get it. Out to Steve Shutt. He flipped it off the boards. LaRouche hustles after it. But Picard for the Capitals feeds it out on left wing to number 10, Rolf Edberg. Speeds into the Montreal zone, leaves it to Dennis Marouk. A shot. That hits Savard and deflects wide. Marouk again, dropping it back, but it comes all the way to center. Swenson to Rowe, number 17. Long shot, Dryden handling that. Savard is there to flip it out, and here's Lafleur speeding in on right wing. Guy Lafleur leaves it for Shutt. Shutt checked by Edberg as he went to shoot. Now Savard. And Marouk knocked it off his stick to center. Savard for Lupien at the Montreal blue line. Back to Serge Savard. Feeding it to Shutt. Steve Shutt to Lafleur, but Marouk intercepts. Here's Dennis Marouk. Shooting and a glove save by Dryden as Marouk teed off on a slap shot as he moved in on left wing.
With the score, Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1. This is NHL 79.
Think about this. You can earn higher interest on your savings without tying up your money for years. At European American Bank, we have an account we call the 90-day wonder. 90 days is all it takes to earn higher interest. 90 days, not a year or 4 years, not even 6 months. Just 90 days and you can get higher interest. The 90-day wonder at European American Bank. It's smart and it works. Doesn't it really make sense to save this way? Think about it.
.54 remaining here in the second period. Canadians leading in the game 2-1. Canadians have still not had a shot on goal here in the second period. 14-9 in the game, but they had all 14 of those shots in the first period. Puck in the Montreal zone. Now Mario Tremblay to Mondeau. For Lambert on left wing, moving into the Washington zone. Bedard back of the net, cleared it on the boards. Mulvey trying to get away from Tremblay, now held in by the Canadians, but broken up by Blair Stewart. Stewart and Lambert fight for it on the boards. Now Hextall for Washington, back into his zone to Lane. Lane firing it out to center. For Mulvey, he was taken out of the play by Chartrand as they collided. And as Engblom goes back and touches it, icing is called against the Washington Capitals. Big number 27, Mulvey of Washington, as I mentioned, a second-round draft choice and a brother of Grant Mulvey of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Well, he looks awfully big. I'll tell you, I'd hate to get hit by him. And, you know, the Capitals are playing a real good second period here. Good forechecking. And that's one of the reasons that the Canadians haven't mustered anything.
Hextall against Mondeau on the face-off. Here is a puck near the Capital goal, cleared away by Swenson and Mulvey. Feeds it to Hextall. In on right wing for Stewart. Engblom rides him out of the play. Hextall trying to drop it back. Does. Mulvey near the blue line holding it in. Fired it over into the other corner. And the Canadians, Chartrand, shot it out into the center ice area. Lane lost it. Now here is Lambert, number 11. Lambert shoots, and he shot wide. Now Lambert to the point to Engblom. Into the corner. Lambert against Swenson. Lambert dropping it back. It comes to Engblom. Flipping it in front. A whack at it. Knocked down by Lane at the defense. There's a shot off the goal post by Mondeau. Mondeau hits the post. Now Engblom is shot. That's wide. And Chartrand or at least Mulvey for Washington clears it down the ice. Well, some close calls by Montreal, but the ones that missed the net and hit the goal post don't count as shots on goal, and they still have not had a shot on goal here in the second period.
Oh, that was unbelievable. We're going to see this again here where the Canadians get a great opportunity. There's a scramble in front of the net, and watch Mondeau come in there, and bingo. He had a lot of room there, too. Sometimes that's the goalie's best friend. And other times.
Glenn Hall used to say the goal post is part of a goaltender's equipment.
Absolutely.
Here is Picard feeding it into the center ice area. It comes to the Montreal line. Gainey feeds it to the Washington line. Now cleared back to center. Lemaire giving it to Gainey to Guy Lapointe. He shot it in. Picard knocks it down. Robert Picard ahead to Lalonde. Lapointe and Lalonde go to the corner. Coming in to help out and centering it. Now Patey a chance, but it's cleared away by Gainey out to Steve Shutt. Shutt's passed right onto a Capital stick as Rissling had it. Now Lafleur takes over. Here's Lafleur into Shutt. Shutt moving in, shoots one, and an arm save by the goaltender Bedard. Picard back of the net. And that was the Canadiens' first shot on goal of the period. And we've played almost 10 minutes of the period. Here is Picard at center ice. In across the line. Patey's shot is high and goes up over the glass. Speaking of brothers, Doug Patey of the Washington Capitals is the brother of Larry Patey of the St. Louis Blues. This is NHL 79 live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland.
Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special. The beer will.
Hello, Brown. What's all this?
Compliments of the gentleman at the bar, sir.
So tonight.
That is no gentleman. That's Tom Grant. Tom, I don't believe it. What's it been, 5 years?
When you want the taste of a truly great American beer, tonight, let it be Low and Brow.
Well, somebody's got to say it, you two. Here's to good friends.
All right.
This is NHL 79, live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, home of the Washington Capitals. Dan Kelly, Gary Dornhofer, and Scott Wally were midway into the hockey game. 10:25 left in the second period. Montreal 2, Washington 1. Face-off in the Canadian zone.
We'd like to compare the new Spirit from American Motors to the new Chevette. Although the Spirit costs $5 more.
Center. Now Jarvis had it momentarily. Ryan Walter shoots it in for Washington. Going back to the goal is Lupia. Trying to feed it out on the board. Swenson held it in. A backhander off Dryden's glove. Now Risebrough on left wing for Montreal. Feeding it to Houle. Houle, number 15, stops, lets the shot go, and he fired wide by 3 or 4 feet. Sirois pinned against the boards, but gets some help from Swenson. And Risebrough and Jarvis force a face-off in the Washington Capitol zone.
There we see Bob Sirois. You know, that he's another player, Dan, when he's in that scoring position, the key is always trying to get into a good scoring position, and then when he is into that position, gets that puck, gets that quick release.
From the face-off, here's Lupia at the left point, flipping it in front. A backhander by Houle goes wide. And Bedard, not sure. Well, he didn't hold it against the side of the net. Now Sirois trying to feed it out. Houle held it in for the Canadiens. Now it's Swenson shooting it outside the zone. Risebrough dumping it back in. Swenson again for Sirois on right wing. Into Sherrod. Sherrod trying to move in. Had the puck and then was checked, and back comes Houle for Montreal. For Risebrough. Risebrough feeding it in front. Houle couldn't control it, and here's Swenson for Washington. To the rookie Ryan Walter. Walter moving in. High shot off the glass. Risebrough for the Canadiens is there and clears it down the ice. And the Canadiens are going to be called for icing here as Big Gord Lane goes back and touches the puck. And the faceoff will come back into the Montreal Canadiens zone.
You know, with Washington having won 20 games thus far, their club record was 24 wins a couple of years ago, so they have an excellent chance of surpassing that. And, you know, talking to Danny Belisle before the game, Danny mentioned that he's very pleased with the way the Capitals have been playing this year. And he came in a kind of an awkward situation at the beginning of the year.
Just prior to the start of the regular season, they'd gone almost through training camp. Tommy McVie was let go, and Belisle, who had been with Philadelphia in the American League, came in a couple of days prior to the start of the season. Here's Lemaire for Montreal on right wing, shoots one, and that went off of the defenseman Lynch wide to the net. Row number 17. Trying to get away from Schutt. Cleared it to the line. Lemaire held it in, shooting, and he fired wide. Now LaFleur flipped it in front, but right onto Rowe's step. Number 17, Tom Rowe. His shot, Dryden sprawls to make the save on the long shot, and it deflects off the lanky goaltender right up over the glass. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals.
We'd like to compare the new Spirit from American Motors to the new Chevette. Although the Spirit costs $5 more, the Spirit's longer, and that's important for a smooth ride. The Spirit's also wider, so you get more front seat comfort. And the Spirit's covered by AMC's Buyer Protection Plan, the only full 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty in the industry. The new AMC Spirit. The difference in value is enormous. The difference in price is only $5.
Puck on speeding out on right wing to center. Gainey trying to go around Picard, upended by Picard, who's going to get a penalty. And Picard clears the puck, and play is halted, and he is going to go to the penalty box for upending Gainey, and it's a hooking penalty against Robert Picard. He, by the way, is the nephew of a former old nemesis of yours, Noel Picard.
Oh, we had some great battles, I'll tell you. Here we're going to see that play again, and there's a little hook. It didn't look like Ron Wicks was going to call that, but then when Gainey went down on the ice, he had his hand up, and another opportunity for the Canadiens on the power play.
So Picard off to the penalty box for Washington. First round draft choice of the Capitals a year ago. And one of the outstanding defensemen among the young crop in the NHL. Was slow in getting going, but here in this middle part of the season, he's really come into his own as a National Hockey League defenseman. So much so, he was selected for the NHL All-Star team in the Challenge Cup Series. Didn't play, but was selected. Back of the net, Mondeau for Montreal, dropping it to Savard. Here are the Canadiens on the power play. Lafleur centered one. It's grabbed by Bedard as it deflected into the goal crease.
You know, Dan, on the Montreal Canadian power play, they use Lambert as the man to get in front of the net. And talking to Dick Irvin, I understand that he's been doing a tremendous job. So we'll have to pay some attention to him and see if we can pick him out there.
Did he ever go to one of your hockey schools or something? That's a job you used to do well. Here's Lafleur, a shot, and Bedard makes the save, and Marouk starts out of his own zone. Capitals shorthanded. Marouk dropping it back for Lynch, and Lynch cleared it down the ice. Marouk and Swenson are the penalty killers up front for Washington. Lynch and Lane on defense. Here's number 10, Lafleur. On right wing to LaRouche. LaRouche dropped it back off a skate, and Swenson is there to clear it away. Canadiens with the man advantage. 1:10 left in Picard's penalty. Savard for Lafleur. Canadiens lead 2-1 and have a power play chance here. Lafleur is spun around and knocked down. Marouk back to get the puck and gets it to Swenson. And Leaf Swenson carries to center ice for Washington. Dumps it into the Montreal zone. Dryden now feeding it out on the wing for Schutt. Schutt rink wide to LaRouche. Number 28, Pierre LaRouche. Stick handling in, centered one, intercepted by Lynch in front of the net with a good defensive play. Now Lane in the corner. Being pressured by Mondeau. Knocked loose, but Swenson is there for Washington. And Swenson backhands it down the ice. Down to 25 seconds left in the penalty. Here's Dryden. Lead pass is too far low for Lafleur. And Lane is back after it. Lane for Marouk. Dennis Marouk. Picks an opening, fired it off the boards. Capitals have killed off the penalty extremely well. Just 6 seconds left in Picard's penalty. Serge Savard to Houle. Régin Houle fired it in high off the glass. Now Sirois checked at the side of the net, got it back again. Sirois leaving it there, and here's Brent Tremblay for Washington. Clears it for Picard, who's back on. Now Picard lost it to Houle, and taking over is Lemaire. He gives it to Savard. Savard shooting it in. Brent Tremblay, number 11, going back after it with Lemaire. Lemaire trying to kick it loose. Tremblay pins him against the boards, and we'll have a face-off in the Washington zone now with 5:48 left here in the second period. With the score, Montreal 2, Washington 1. This is NHL 79.
You know someone who's still spraying it. Help them out. Get them to stick it with Menon Speed Stick. When you stick it, you get effective deodorant protection. Speed Stick is solid. Nothing's wasted. It's a lot more deodorant for your money. You can buy this 3-ounce can of the leading aerosol, use it up, buy another, use it up, and buy a third before you'd use up one 2.5-ounce Speed Stick. So if you know someone who's still spraying it, help them out. Get them to stick it with Menon Speed Stick.
Gary Dornhofer, the Capitals killed off that penalty so well, we never got a chance to watch Lambert in front of the net.
That's right. They did a great job.
Here's Houle, a shot from the face-off. Off Bedard's stick to the corner. Now Risebrough. Back for Jarvis. He bounces it in behind the Capital goal. Picard firing it off the boards back into the Montreal zone, and Bob Gainey is there. Gainey got it to center. Walter for Washington knocked it down. Now Jarvis shoots one into the Washington zone. Bedard shoots it around on the boards, and number 24, Picard, has it. Here's Picard, got it to the line. Risebrough held it in for Houle, in front to Jarvis. Now Risebrough a chance, and he skated off by Chiron. Sherrod along the boards with Hull. In comes Lynch, and they hold it there. And the faceoff is going to be in the Washington zone. Washington defenseman Jack Lynch. We remind you of upcoming NHL 79 presentations this Saturday afternoon. The Boston Bruins and the Minnesota North Stars in Bloomington, Minnesota, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And next Monday, the Detroit Red Wings at the Forum in Montreal to meet the Canadiens, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Both of those games on most of these same stations. Face off in the Washington zone. Here's Gainey at the point, shooting one, and that went wide of the goal. Now Lane clearing it on the boards. He's pinned in there by Jarvis, and we'll have another face-off in the Washington zone.
You know, Dan, Jarvis, he's one of the best face-off men in the National Hockey League. And in a critical situation, very often you'll see either Jarvis or Lemaire come out and take those face-offs.
Capitals have won 10 of 19 face-offs in this period. Now it's 10 of 20 as Jarvis won that one. Puck in behind the Capital goal. Ryan Walter is there. Walter, the Capitals' first draft choice to Sirois, number 25. Sirois trying to make a play, spins around, back of the net to Walter. He gives it to Sherrod in front, and Sherrod couldn't handle the puck or get a shot away. Back is Gainey for Montreal, trying to work around Lane. Gainey bumped against the boards by Sherrod and Lane, and Walter shot it to center ice. Lambert firing it right back in. Lane, number 28 for Washington. 4:15 left in the period. Tremblay knocks it down for Montreal. Demondu shooting at a save. Loose puck. Bedard didn't know where it was as he took it against his chest, and it dropped to his feet, and he didn't know it was there.
Capitals were very fortunate there. That was a giveaway by Lane. Canadians recovered, get a good shot on net here. Now you're going to see Bedard make the save, and then where's the puck? Down he goes, and Lane, he shoves the puck underneath Bedard to call for the faceoff.
You know, you were talking about Yvon Lambert and his work in front of the net. That's something you did so well during your career. What's the key to that? Just being able to take a beating and being stubborn in there?
Well, try to stay in there as long as you can, Dan. Well, we'll get into it a little later.
Here's Lafleur, a shot wide of the net. Now Picard trying to clear it, held in by Lupien. His shot wide of the Capital goal. Lynch coming up with it over on the left wing side for Picard. He feeds it to center ice, knocked away by Lupien. Now Lemaire drills it back in for Montreal. Lafleur trying to hold it in, gets it to the corner, and Rowe has it for Washington. Rowe for Marouk. Pass was off his stick. Lupien at center ice, shot it back in, and it's offside at the Washington Capital blue line. This is NHL 79 live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland.
Belongs to a very special circle, the Schaefer Circle, because he knew that being great meant finding that opening and slamming that slap shot home at 118 miles an hour every time. At Schaefer, we brew our beer to taste great every time, beer after beer. Don't you deserve a beer that good?
So come into the Schaefer Circle.
Three minutes, 38 seconds left in the second period. Montreal 2, Washington 1. Puck comes to the Canadian line. Serge Savard has it there. Savard now to Lupien, who gives it to Lafleur. Lafleur bumped by Picard, and Lynch comes up with the puck. Fired it right back out for Washington. Savard shoots it back in for the Canadiens. Here's Picard. Out on the right wing side, Lemaire held it in, a slap shot wide of the net. Now Savard at the other point, flipped it in front, and Marouk has it. Trying to get it outside the line. Lemaire shot it back in, and it's offside at the Washington blue line as we look at the NHL's leading scorer and perhaps The world's greatest hockey player, Guy Lafleur, as some people label him. You were talking about that play in front of the net earlier, Gary. Let's let you finish that up.
Well, one thing, Dan, you know, the only time you really want to go in front of the net is when there's a shot directed at the goalie. You know, if the play's in the corner, no sense taking any punishment because you're not much use there. But anytime there's a shot, just get in front of the goalie and screen him a little bit.
They give you a few whacks in there, though, don't they?
Sometimes.
Here's a clearing pass. Gainey shooting it into the Washington zone, and the play is offside again at the Capital blue line. Mario Tremblay, who has scored one of the Montreal goals here tonight. Tremblay is 25th of the year, and LaRouche is 8th, scoring for Montreal. Guy Chara has scored the Washington Capitals goal. 2-1. Montreal leading now with 2:56 left. And we have a little bit of jockeying of lines here by a man who's very experienced in that area, Mr. Scotty Bowman.
Well, he likes to shuffle lines around. Even if he's on the road, he likes to get the combination that he wants to use.
Here's Gainey trying to work it by Lynch. Now shot it into the Washington zone, but Picard has it for the Capitals. Firing it back out. It comes to center. Lapointe knocked it down there. Here's Edberg for Washington. This pass comes all the way back into the neutral zone. Lynch for Picard. Picard for Edberg. Off his skate, here's Lapointe. Shoots it in. Lafleur charges in after it. Now Lafleur tied up by Rowe. Center to shot. A shot and a pad save by Bedard. Canadians hold it in. Lapointe getting it to Lemaire. Here's Lafleur. Shoots and he shot just wide. Now Gainey moves in from the left point. Gets it into the corner. Picard for Washington. Shooting it out and shooting it right up over the glass. Now to Scott Wally.
Thank you, Dan. Between the second and third period tonight, we'll be talking with Guy Chara, the captain of the Washington Capitals. Chara with the only Capitals goal this evening, and he scored his 200th NHL career goal yesterday in that 5-4 victory over Minnesota. We'll also be talking with Gary Dornhofer, of course, with second period highlights, and we'll be announcing our NHL Player of the Week. That's all coming up in the next intermission. Dan?
Okay, Scott, here's Lane for Washington. Exactly 2 minutes to play here in period 2. Now it's Swenson for the Capitals. Got it to the Montreal line. Lambert shot it back out and up over the boards. And we are in a very close checking hockey game at this point of the second period. Each team has now had 6 shots on goal here in period 2. So the Capitals, after dominating the early part of the play in this period, have seen the Canadiens come back. But it's basically very close checking. Here's Savard. Canadiens protecting a 2-1 lead to Lupien. Lupien at center ice to Tremblay. In across the line. Lane is there to break it up. And Gord Lane has it for the Capitals. On right wing for Stewart. At center to Hextall. Tips it into the Montreal zone. Now Lupien beats Hextall to it. Here's Blair Stewart centering it out in front. Mulvey shoots and he shot it wide. Oh, a great chance for Mulvey. And the puck winds up on the mesh of the Canadiens' goal. Mulvey blasting one just wide.
Oh, Mulvey, that was a turnaround jump shot. He just spun around and let it go. Now watch him get himself into scoring position there in the slot, but it wasn't on the stick side, and he moves around and just fires it wide. But as you had mentioned there, Dan, had that been on the net, that might have gone in.
Down to 1:20 left in the second period. Montreal 2, Washington 1. Guy Chara between Walter and Sirlaw for the Capitals. Canadians have Jarvis, Houle, and Risebrough up to check him. Savard shoots it to center ice. Lynch dumping it back in. Here is Savard. Rink-wide pass for Lapointe. Lapointe flips it back to center. Knocked down, and here is Lynch for Washington. Getting it into Walter. Walter's low shot. A stick save by Dryden. And Lapointe over on left wing to Risebrough. A minute left in the period. Headmans to Jarvis into Houle. And the play is offside at the Washington Capital blue line. And as you will have in a close checking period such as this, a lot of offsides as we look at Guy Chara. We'll be talking no doubt about a big thrill in his career. His 200th career goal yesterday in that victory over Minnesota.
Yeah, not only that, he has a lot of years ahead of him. Slick stick handler. You know, you have to take the body on him or you're going to end up with a lot of problems.
From the face-off, Houle shooting it into the Washington zone. Picard is there. 45 seconds now left in the period. Picard clearing it out, and it goes off of Chara up over the glass. And the Capitals have happened to them just what they didn't want to have happen, a face-off coming up in their own end of the rink.
Well, we always talk about how important they are, and especially near the end of a period. And Canadians have Jarvis out. We had mentioned before how good he is on face-offs. So we'll see what happens here.
It will be a duel between Jarvis and Guy Chara. Deep in the Washington zone, and the Capitals get the draw, and Picard feeds it out to Sirois. Sirois then handed it to Houle. He missed it. Here's Chara for Washington. In across the line for Walter. Centered it to Sirois. Savard was there to clear it. Walter to Sirois in the corner. Sirois centers one, and it's tipped away by Savard. Back comes Risebrow. Long flip shot. Right, or at least the goaltender Bedard cleared it to Picard. 15 seconds left in the period. Now Picard having trouble against Houle, and Houle forces another face-off for the Canadiens in the Washington zone, now with 11 seconds left in period 2.
Well, that was a close call at the other end there for the Capitals. Sirois just couldn't get a stick on it, and again we get into this situation where Lemaire now is out there as Bedard in that mask of his. A lot of goalies are going to that mask now, Dan, rather than the cage.
Yeah, that's true. More and more you're seeing that cage-type mask. Here is Chara against Lemaire. Chara wins the draw, and Lane circles his own goal. Flips it out on the boards. Sirois gets it to the Montreal line. Dropped back by Savard, and that is the end of the second period. Shots on goal in the hockey game thus far. The Canadiens out shooting Washington 20-11 in that period. The Capitals, who had been outshot in the first period 14-6. It is 7 shots for Washington to 6 for Montreal in the second period. And so the score at the end of the second period, the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1.
Oh, the nightmare of waking up.
Good morning, Howard.
Now end the nightmare of waking up with the Dream Machines from Sony. First, they wake you gently. Then they send you back to sleep to finish your dream. Sony thinks the nicest way to get up is to a dream. End the nightmare of waking up. The Dream Machines from Sony.
Avis Super Saver rates. Special rates that save you money. Like our 7-day See America rate.
Look out, L.A. Bye.
Or our special holiday rates.
We get to go to the grandmother's house.
And on weekends, Avis Super Saver rates can save you up to 50% off our weekday rates.
50% off?
Up to 50%.
See you Monday.
Call our toll-free number or your travel consultant. Some restrictions do apply.
Coming up next, Guy Chara of the Washington Capitals, proud owner of 201 career goals. Pause now for station identification. This is NHL 79. Maryland, Montreal leads Washington 2-1 after 2 periods of play. And my guest is Guy Chara, the popular captain of the Washington Capitals and a fellow who scored his 200th career goal yesterday. Took you 7 years to score your first 100. You got your second 100 in less than 3, and I think my math is probably going to be off, but sometime next season you'll probably hit 300.
Well,
really picking up the pace.
Well, I think it's just, I felt very fortunate to be able to reach 200 goals in the NHL. Like you said, it took a while for me to get going. I've been going maybe like from a few teams, Detroit and Kansas City, and finally, coming here to Washington, I was able to, perform on a regular basis, and things have worked out for me.
Okay, you started out with the Montreal organization. Capitals, 29 games, 1 tie, 28 losses. It must be tough to get in the proper frame of mind for a game like this.
Well, for one thing, I think that the team is mentally prepared and physically prepared to play Montreal. I think all teams in the leagues are the same way when they play the Montreal Canadiens. The thing that I think is a little bit difficult mentally, because if we fall behind in the game, sometimes we feel it's tough to come back against Montreal. And if we do have a lead, then we want to keep it, and sometimes they get a couple of goals, and it's a tight race. So I think overall, I think the team is ready, and it's going to take one of those games where maybe like tonight, where the game is 2-1 going into the third period. we have to be patient. We can't open up against Montreal, and if we're patient and stay with our man, maybe we'll have a few opportunities, and if we capitalize on them, we might have a win tonight.
Yesterday was a classic example of how a team can lose its momentum, but then come back. That showed a lot of character as Minnesota tied you with a minute to go after they pulled the goalie. Then you came back with the Serrois goal to win it.
True. I think, you know, it's a good sign because I know the few years I've been here, it's been kind of the story of the Capitals. Every time we've had to lead late in the third period, the team has come back and tied it up, and sometimes even had to got the winner late in the period. So I thought it was a good sign for us to, even late in a game like that, being tied, come back and score the goal.
A lot of teams envy Washington's offensive total. You have 5 guys with more than 20 goals, including yourself. And the 2 guys in your line, you've been playing very well together, Serrois, the rookie Walter, and yourself.
Well, I think there's a lot to say about rookie Ryan Walter. I think he's one of the great rookies that have come out. And it's a tough, he had to get used to play left wing, which I think he played center throughout his junior career. So I think it's difficult, but he's adapted really well, and he made it very easy for me to play with him. And Bobby Serrois, well, I played with him throughout the year last year, so you know, it's working out really well. But like I said, for Ryan being playing on the wing rather than center has come up and played it tremendously well for us.
I'm sure Gary Ennis would like to have been out there in goal tonight. A lot of pressure on young Jim Bedard.
True. I think Gary injured himself in last night's games. I guess he pulled a groin, and you know, you have to, for a goaltender to pull a groin, it's very difficult because he has to move quite a bit. For Jimmy, it is a pressure game for him, but he has been playing well since he had been in the minors, and he's played against the Montreal Canadiens before, so he knows what they're all about.
Thank you, Guy Charron, the captain of the Washington Capitals. After 2 periods of play, the Caps trailed the Montreal Canadiens by a score of 2-1. Coming up, our NHL Player of the Week as our intermission continues in just a moment. After 2 periods of play here at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens are leading the Washington Capitals by a score of 2-1. Well, the Toronto Maple Leafs, since the return of Roger Nielsen as coach, have won 2 in a row. They defeated the Flyers on Saturday and the Rangers on Sunday. But one of the Maple Leafs who's been hot now for a couple of weeks is Lanny McDonald, and he is the NHL Player of the Week. McDonald has scored 8 goals in his last 8 games and now has 31 for the season to lead the Leafs. It's the 4th consecutive season that McDonald has scored at least 30 goals. Lanny was a member of Team NHL in the recent Challenge Cup Series, has exploded for 10 goals and 5 assists in his last 11 games. The Player of the Week award is given by the Professional Hockey Writers Association. And the winner, Lanny McDonald, will receive a portable color television set courtesy of the Sony Corporation. Coming up, our guest commentator, Gary Dornhofer's 2nd period highlights. With the score, Montreal 2 and Washington 1, NHL 79 continues in just a moment.
Friends.
We're back at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. 2 periods of play have been played, and Montreal leads Washington by a score of 2-1. Scott Wally with Dan Kelly and Gary Dornhofer, our guest commentator, back with our crew once again. We're happy to have you along. If you're talking about goals as highlights, we don't have any highlights in the 2nd period, but there was some good action. And Washington seemed to get itself together a little bit and outshot the Canadiens 7-6 in that 2nd period after being outshot 14-4 in the 1st period.
Well, there's no question, Scott, in that 1st period, Montreal did dominate. And you know, after a period like that, you get in the dressing room and you start hashing things out amongst each other. You know, lines get together, and you know, what do we have to do? And it was obvious that the Capitals were not putting any pressure on the Canadiens in their zone, so you have to dump the puck in there. Tumbling block, and here you're going to have an end view of what it looks like. You see Rowe coming down and letting a slap shot go, and there's the big guy. Here it comes. Kick pad save there and knock it off into the corner. And you know, Kenny Drayton's been a great player for many years. Here's a giveaway. You know, it's what you do in your own zone. And Lane, he tried to clear the puck out, was intercepted. Mondu comes in and lets a slap shot go. Now Bedard, he makes a save and then he loses track of it, doesn't know where it is. And Lane, he covers up for his mistake, and there's a face-off. But you know, there's so many times where those giveaways can result in goals, and in that particular case, the Capitals got away lucky.
Briefly, a comment on Jim Bedard tonight in goal for the Caps.
Excellent. He's come out and made some good saves. He's been very aggressive. Gary Ennis told me he's a cocky kid. He loves to play, and you know, you have to challenge Montreal. You can't hide in your net. Try to come out and cut those angles down, and hope things work out for you. And he's done all right so far.
Gary Dornhofer, formerly of the Flyers, and with us tonight as guest commentator. Third period action coming up. After 2 periods of play, the Montreal Canadiens are leading the Capitals 2-1. This portion of NHL 79 has been brought to you by Porsche Audi, the official cars of the NHL Network. Nothing even comes close. And by the makers of English leather grooming aids for men, all with that fresh, clean scent of English leather. And by light beer. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
You need a sharp pair of eyes when pucks come flying at you at 100 miles an hour. I know, I'm Chico Resch, but imagine how tough it would be if a goalie could see only this much action. That's all thousands of kids and adults with retinitis pigmentosa can see, and even less. There's no treatment or cure for these diseases now, but the National RP Foundation has taken on this job. Everybody has a right to see all the action. Help get this job done. Please support your local RP chapter.
The Jefferson Memorial with the Washington Monument in the background. This is the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And we are just outside of Washington in Landover, Maryland, home of the Washington Capitals on NHL 79. Dan Kelly, Gary Dornhofer, and Scott Wally. We have a 2-1 hockey game here with the Canadiens leading all the scoring in the first period. Guy Charron for Washington at 6:39, but the Canadiens tied it. LaRouche at 10:14 on a power play. And then Mario Tremblay's 25th of the year at 13:04 of the first period. In the game thus far, Montreal 20 shots on goal to 11 for the Washington Capitals. And we move into the third period of this hockey game as the Capitals are on the ice. The Montreal Canadiens will be out momentarily for this third period activity. Looking at some of the standings in the National Hockey League, the Montreal Canadiens leading the Norris Division by a wide margin. Los Angeles just a couple of points ahead of Pittsburgh. Then Washington 13 points behind Pittsburgh and 6 ahead of 5th place Detroit. So the Capitals coming up with a much improved season. The New York Islanders lead the Patrick Division. Then the Rangers and Atlanta tied for 2nd. And Philadelphia in 4th place with 70 points, 6 points behind. Smythe Division, Chicago the leaders, 12 points ahead of Vancouver. St. Louis has now moved to within 8 points of Vancouver and that last playoff spot. And then Colorado another 6 points back. And the Adams Division shows Boston leading 20 points ahead of Buffalo and Toronto. And Minnesota still in the playoff fight, 6 points back of the Sabres and the Maple Leafs. Guy Charron, who you met in between the second and third periods. Charron, who originally broke into the NHL with the Montreal Canadiens, then went to Detroit and to Kansas City, and now here and finding a place to stay, I would think, Gary Dornhofer with the Washington Capitals. He's their key performer.
No, he's quite a competitor. And you know, Dan, when you keep getting moved from city to city, that means there's a lot of people that like you.
Ken Dryden readying his goal crease for the third period. Dryden, the leader among NHL goaltenders with an individual average of 2.29 this season. And Jim Bedard, just up from Hershey of the American League, started the season with the Capitals, went to Hershey, recalled, and in action here tonight against the Stanley Cup champion Canadiens. Third period, and the Canadiens lead 2-1. Gainey from the faceoff, dumping one into the Washington zone. Bedard flips it on the boards for Walter. Walter pinned there by Risebrough. Here's Picard trying to feed it out. Lapointe held it in. Bedard cleared it again. Loose puck on the boards. Walter got it outside the line. Now Walter, number 9, to Charron. Here's Charron. Stick handling in, tied up and well checked in the play. Now Lynch, a shot that's blocked and bounces out to center ice. Charron was well checked on that last rush by Régin Houle. Here's Lynch to Picard. Crosses center, fires one in. Gainey going back to get it, and as he does, a penalty coming up here against Montreal and against Hull. And Hull will go up, and Washington will have a power play opportunity here early in this third period. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. Hull in the penalty box for Montreal, and an opportunity here for the Capitals, a hooking penalty. Here is Tremblay for Montreal from the faceoff, dumping it down the ice. Picard going back to get it. Picard leaving it there, and here is number 10, Rolf Edberg. Washington with the man advantage. Edberg's pass to Rowe off his skate, and then it's cleared down the ice by Lemaire. Lemaire and Tremblay are the penalty killers. Savard and Lapointe on defense. Picard for Washington. Leaving it there for Edberg. Now on right wing for Chiron. Got it across to Rowe. Rowe has to circle back. Canadian penalty killing doing a great job thus far. Here's Lemaire intercepting one. He's knocked down by Rowe. Baruch has the puck, but skated off nicely by Tremblay to Lapointe. Now to Savard. And Savard gives it to Lemaire. Number 25, Jacques Lemaire. Checked in the play, and here's Rowe for Washington. On right wing into the Canadian zone. Leaves it for Marouk. He dropped it back to Chiron. Chiron to the side of the net to Marouk. Centered one. Into the goal crease, and Savard cleared it away. Lemaire for Montreal. Shot it off the boards to Tremblay, who dumps it down the ice. 50 seconds left in the Canadiens penalty to Hull. Here's Picard. Swings away from Jarvis. Picard into Marouk. Marouk shoots one, and that hits Savard and deflects to the corner. Lapointe is there to flip it up and clears it up over the glass and into the crowd. And the faceoff will be back in the Montreal zone. Canadiens leading 2-1. 17:51 left in the hockey game. Ken Dryden, the Canadiens goaltender. Still 35 seconds left in that penalty to Hull.
Well, still plenty of time. You know, Dan, when that puck is shot down the ice, as the Canadiens did there during the power play, it's up to the Washington players to hustle back as fast as they can and start the rush together. It's no sense somebody being at the far blue line or center ice. The idea is to go in one unit.
Here's a chance for Lynch that goes off a stick and up over the glass. And this time the face-off will be just inside the Montreal blue line. Jack Lynch, seen action previously with Detroit and Pittsburgh in the NHL. Marouk, Sirois, and Walter up front for Washington. Swenson and Lynch are the point men. Now on the face-off, Jarvis gets the draw on Lapointe. Fired it out to center. Lynch to Sirois. Sirois checked on the play, and the Capitals have to go back. And Lynch, number 2, passes to Swenson. Out on left wing to the rookie Walter into Marouk. Dennis Marouk back to Walter. Too closely checked by Jarvis. Here's Sirois after the loose puck. Sirois checked by Lapointe, who got it outside the line. Swenson has it there to Sirois. In across the line to Marouk. Feeding it into Walter. Shoots, and he shot it off the side of the net just wide. Hull is back on. Marouk dropping it back. Here's Lynch's shot. That stopped at the defense, and Gainey starts back for Montreal. Gainey circling back and dropping it back to Engblom at the Montreal line. Back to Gainey. Now into Chartres as the Canadiens work it methodically out of their own zone. Engblom to Lafleur. Guy Lafleur leaving it for Schutt, and it misfired, and back comes the Capital team. Marouk over to Gord Lane. Lane cutting in. His shot was blocked, and he was checked as he went to shoot. Now at center ice, it is number 11, Brent Tremblay. Playing in his first NHL game, dumps it in for Washington. And as Engblom gets back to get the puck, they roll. The Capitals touched it first, so it's onside. Canadiens got it outside the line. Mulvey couldn't get it back in. Here's Schutt. Checked by Hextall. Hextall into the Canadian zone. Chartres skates him off. And Schutt has it for Montreal. Stewart in checking for Washington. Now number 3, Brian Engblom. To Lafleur. Checked by number 14, Blair Stewart. Capitals dump it back in. Dryden cleared it away. Now Hextall in the corner. Centered one. Mulvey couldn't control it. Stewart band on it, and back comes Lafleur. 3-on-2. Montreal break. Into shut. Trying to get it back to Lafleur. Big Mulvey was there to break it up. Now the Canadiens do got it. Here's Lafleur. Moving in. Shoots. Bedard was on his knees and able to make the save. He had committed himself, but was able to make the stop and held it for a faceoff. With the score, the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 1. This is NHL 79.
All right, we're going to see a 2-on-1 here with Lemaire and Lafleur. And Lemaire was in an excellent scoring position there, and he probably should have shot it instead of, you know, sliding it back to Lafleur there.
Bedard was already on his knees as Lafleur shot it, but it went right into him, and he made the save. Picard for Washington. Firing it up the middle. It goes all the way down the ice, but on goal. Dryden handles it easily, sets it up for number 23, Gainey. Shot it off the boards. Walter intercepting, but Lapointe is there for Montreal. Duck gets it into the Washington zone. Picard being forechecked in the play by Jarvis. Jarvis almost stole the puck. Now the Capitals work at the center. Sirois trying to set up Chiron. Gainey intercepting. Shoots it back to center. Picard fires the long one in. Now Gainey. Played it off the boards for Houle. Houle to Jarvis. Jarvis into the Washington zone, sliding it through. And the play is offside at the Washington Capital blue line. NHL 79 coming up this Saturday. Boston at Minnesota. And that will be at 2 o'clock Eastern time. New York Ranger goaltender John Davidson will be our guest analyst. And next Monday night, the Detroit Red Wings and the Canadiens. Minnesota North Star general manager Lou Nanne will be our guest commentator. 8 o'clock Eastern time on most of these same stations. From the face-off, the Canadiens shoot it into the Washington zone. Picard for Chiron. Tipped it out to center ice. Savard, number 18 for the Canadiens. Now to Risebrough. He's checked. Walter passes it into Sirois. Sirois to Chiron. Into Walter. A shot, and he shot just wide. Oh, Walter with a great chance. Now Lynch shoots. Walter scores! Ron Walter!
Oh, boy, what a play that was. You know, Walter, he just positioned himself right beside the net there, Dan. Stick on the ice, which is so important. I'm going to say this again, where the Canadiens dump the puck around the boards, and Lynch will stop it, fire it at the net. And Walter's left uncovered there. Dryden, no chance. Again, he sneaks behind Savard there. You notice Walter, though, when he went at that puck, he had his stick right along the ice and just directed it in the net.
And the rookie Ryan Walter gets his 25th goal of the year, assisted by Lynch at 5:36. And the game is tied at 2 apiece. Walter had missed a great opportunity just about 10 seconds before that. 2-2 the score. Here's Washington. Swenson tipping it into the Montreal zone. Lupien Rowe battle for it. Now Marouk behind the net. Dennis Marouk in front to Edberg, who fanned on it. And back come the Canadiens. Tremblay, number 14. Upended by Lane with a good check at the blue line. Edberg dumps it down for Washington. That goal has fired up this crowd, and let's see what it does to the Capitals. Here's Dennis Marouk flipping it in. Knocked down by Lupien, number 24. Out on right wing to Tremblay. He couldn't handle it. Lane for the Capitals dumps it right back in. Lupien again in control for Montreal. There's Gilles Lupien. Pass to Mondeau is off the mark, goes into the Washington zone. Bedard out of the net to clear it around on right wing for Rowe. Rowe gets it loose. To Swenson at center to Marouk. He handed it right to Lafleur, but the play was called back on a two-line offside from inside the Washington Capital blue line. 2-2 the score. We have 13:24 left in the game.
Well, you know, a goal like that against the Canadiens, that certainly will add a little spark, and we're going to see it again where Lynch will pick it up and let it go. And Walter, you know, the reason he makes such a great play is he's skating into the net and he has his stick right along the ice and just directs it in the open net.
Here's Picard against Lafleur on the boards. They hold it there, and we'll have another face-off in the Washington zone. Lemaire at center, Lafleur on right wing, shot on the left side. Out to check them. Hextall, Stewart, and Mulvey. On the face-off, Picard gets it on right wing for Blair Stewart, who shot it to center. Gainey has it there for Montreal to Steve Shutt, trying to set up Lemaire. Now Mulvey intercepts. Canadians get it again, however. Lapointe trying to work it in. Does get it into the corner. Mulvey is there, and he fires it off the glass down the ice. And it will be icing against the Capitals as Gainey goes back and touches it. And the faceoff comes back into the Washington zone. This is NHL 79, live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. NHL 79 coming to you live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. 12 minutes, 53 seconds left in the game. Washington Capitals 2, the Montreal Canadiens 2. Faceoff coming up in the Washington zone. 29 previous games, the best the Capitals have been able to do against Montreal is a tie. Here's Gainey holding it in for Lafleur. Centered one, tipped away by Picard. Now Lemaire, a shot that's blocked. Here's Lapointe, knocked down in the play, and Sirois, number 25, goes in on right wing. Sirois bumped in the play, and back comes Gainey. Gainey with Lafleur. Gainey shooting, and it's high off the glass. Comes all the way to center. Walter checked in the play, got it into the Canadian zone. Steve Shutt has it there. He flips it back out to center, and Lane, who had just come onto the ice, takes over for Washington. To Swenson, number 4. Now Dennis Hextall almost lost it, drops it back to Lane, and Lane quickly clears it to center. Savard has it there. Over on the wing for Lupien. Now to Lemaire. Lemaire shot it to center. Walter knocks it down. Here's Walter to Sirois, into Chiron. Chiron couldn't get around Savard. Savard shoots it near the Capitals line. Now coming up with it is Swenson. Leaf Swenson, number 4. Around Lupien, backhander. Dryden just got a stick on it. And the Canadians clear it down the ice. On goal, and Bedard has to make the save. Tommy Rowe, number 17. Up the middle off Swenson's skate. Rowe is there to cover up. Now to Walter at center, and knocked off his stick up over the boards at the Washington Capital bench. And the faceoff will be at the Capitals blue line.
Well, Dan, the Capitals certainly have the Canadians frustrated tonight. You beat a team 5 times and you figure you're going to have an easy game, but this isn't the case tonight. And you got to give the Capitals a lot of credit. They're clawing out there and fighting for everything they're getting, and they're being rewarded.
Brian Walter, the Capital rookie who tied the game, has broken the Washington team record for points by a rookie this season. Here is Lupien. His shot blocked at the blue line. Lupien, number 24, has it again to Savard. Savard flipping it in. Now Rowe trying to clear it, held in. Here's a shot by Montreal, blocked by Edberg. And Edberg for the Capitals trying to clear it. LaRouche couldn't hold it in. Then LaRouche checked by Marouk. LaRouche again for Tremblay. Back to LaRouche. Moving in on right wing. Flipped it in front for Lambert. Too closely checked by Tom Rowe. Edberg shot it to center. Into the Montreal zone, and Serge Savard takes over for Lupien. Big Lupien with a long shot into the Washington zone. Picard there to feed it out to Edberg. Held in by LaRouche. A shot and a glove save by Bedard. Feeds it out on left wing for Edberg. He got it to center. Now Lapointe scooping one back in. Picard for the Capitals. Skated off by Lambert. Picard gets it to Rowe. That's center to Marouk. There's Dennis Marouk. Over to Picard, moving in. Check before he could shoot. Back comes LaRouche. A 3-on-2 break for Montreal. Drops to Tremblay, to LaRouche, to Tremblay. And a save by Bedard on Tremblay's close-in try. Canadians dump it back into the Washington zone, but Picard starts back. He flips it in. Dryden sets it up for Gainey. Now to Lafleur on right wing. To Lemaire at center. Steve Shutt back to Lemaire. And Lane for Washington cleared it. Knocked back in. Sirois gives it to Lane. Capitals do clear it. Here's Gainey for Montreal to Guy Lapointe. Back to Gainey. 2-2 the score. Gainey shoots one into the Washington zone. Lane is back to pick it up. LaFleur into forecheck on him. Now Schutz steals it, centered it. Bedard cleared it. Lemaire comes up with it to LaPointe. Shooting screen shot, and Bedard, a glove save. Clears it to Lane. Lane can't get it out of there. Gainey holding it in. And Lynch blocks that shot and shoots it to center. Now LaPointe for Montreal. Dropped it into his own zone. Sirois races in after it. Trying to center. Here is Sirois again, and Dryden knocked it off his stick. And Lemaire passes to Schutt. He couldn't get it. Going back is Swenson for Washington. Around in the boards to number 28, Lane. Lane to Sirois. Picked up by Sherrod. Less than 9 minutes to play. Sherrod couldn't get turned around for a shot. Now Swenson at center ice. Shot it to the Canadiens line. Jarvis gives it to Savard. To Régin Houle. Houle, number 15. Houle still with the puck. Bumped by Picard. Houle stays on his feet. Canadiens come up with it. Risebrow then bumped by McDonald on the boards. Here's Sherrod back to help out. Guy Sherrod shot it off the boards, and McDonald clears it into the Montreal zone. And Savard is back after it. Serge Savard trying to get away from Stewart, who ran into Dryden. Now here is Savard flipping it across the line. Races in after it himself and lets a shot go that hit Swenson and went wide. Mulvey leaves it for Picard. Out on left wing to Mulvey. Mulvey in with Stewart. Mulvey shoots, and Dryden a glove save. Cleared it to Tremblay. Canadiens come out, and overskating it is Tremblay. Now Mulvey shoots one, and that hits Savard. Into the corner, Lupien knocks down the Washington player. Tremblay out to Lambert. Lambert feeds it to Monduke, broken up by Blair Stewart. Back into the Washington zone. Lupien to Guy Lapointe. Lapointe to Lambert, who deflects it into the Capital zone. Bedard leaves it to Picard. Around in the boards, Mulvey tipped it but not out. Lambert holding it in. He failed to get a shot away, and here's Picard to Rowe. Intercepted by Gainey, who gives it to Mondu. Pierre Mondu to Gainey. Flipping it in, but Edberg has it for Washington. Here's Rolf Edberg. Gets away from Lafleur. Edberg shot it into the Canadian zone. 7 minutes left. Gainey out on left wing to Steve Schutt. Schutt number 22. Moving in, holding on to the puck, tied up by Lane. Marouk trying to clear it and does to center ice. Gainey for Montreal. For Lemaire. Back is Lane for the Capitals. Left wing pass to Edberg. Edberg got it into the center ice area. Canadiens take over. Lemaire tried to set up Lafleur, but Swenson intercepts. Now Lupien fired it in. Bedard back of the net. On left wing for Lane. Lane to Marouk at center. Shot it into the Montreal zone. Rowe going in after it. Lupien comes up with it for Montreal. And Lafleur cleared it to center. Now Marouk in on left wing. Here's Rolf Edberg. Leaving it for Marouk. Marouk moving in. Shoots it off Savard. Up over the glass. After a fancy passing play by the Capitals. Live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. Scotty Bowman, the coach of the Canadiens, who was a guest commentator a couple of weeks back and will be with us later in the NHL 79 series, so you can look forward to that. Here we have a 2-2 hockey game as Picard, or at least Swenson, has to circle back. Gives it to Walter. Walter dumping it into the Montreal zone. And Savard has it there. Savard shoots it into the center ice area. Here's Bedard away out of the net to dump it to the Montreal line. Now picked up by Sirois. He moves in and fanned on his shot. Sirois to the corner with Houle. Now Ryan Walter gets it behind the goal. Savard feeding it out on left wing, and Risebrow for Montreal comes to center. Doug Risebrow with a long backhander. Bedard handles that easily. Gord Lane for Sirois. Number 25, Sirois shoots one, and Dryden steers it aside. Tremblay tied up by Walter. Walter fell, and the Canadiens get to center. Here's Guy Lapointe knocking it ahead. Gets it into Risebrough, shoots Bedard to save. Risebrough bumped by Walter in the corner. Now Blair Stewart trying to tie up Risebrough. Puck is knocked loose. Tremblay for Montreal. Upended, but gets it to Gainey. Shoots, deflected, and it goes wide. And Bedard feeds it to Walter. Walter at center ice. Gainey hustles back, but tied up by Blair Stewart. Now Gainey on the second try. Shot at the center. Here's Lynch for Washington, and the play is offside at the Montreal blue line. With the score, the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 2. This is NHL 79. Shots on goal in the game thus far. The Canadiens 26, the Capitals 16. 4:36 now to play. 2-2 the score. Loose puck at center ice. Lynch clearing it over. Dennis Hextall tried to get it into the zone. Failed. Now Hextall to Patey. Into Mulvey. Mulvey checked from behind by Tremblay. Now to Lambert. On right wing for Mondeau. Mondeau cutting in. Centered one, and it's broken up by Lynch, who got back and got a stick on the centering pass, which was intended for Lambert.
Boy, Lynch, he never stopped working there. You know, he was kind of caught, and he kept hustling back and put his stick down, deflected it, you know, out of the building. But great opportunity there by the Canadiens, where they had a 2-on-1. Here we're going to see it again. Lynch just kept hustling and deflected it out of the building as Gainey was heading for the net. Fast pace tonight, Dan.
We had about a 5 or 6 minute span here earlier in this period without a whistle. Wanted to let you know that Mr. Dornhofer was here. We just didn't have any stoppages in play. That happens again, just grunt so people know you're still along.
Okay, I'll do that, Dan.
Pace has picked up since the Capitals tied it. 2-2 the score. Cleared by Lane to center ice. It's shot back in by Lapointe. Now Mondeau. Here is Rowe. Pass to Marouk. Marouk trying to get around Gainey, and Gainey breaks it up. Gainey firing it around on the boards for Lambert. Yvon Lambert, number 11. In across the line. Flips it in. Edberg tried to shoot it out. Now Edberg gives it to Big Swenson, the Swedish defenseman. Circles his goal. Made a dangerous play, looked rather routine. Cleared it to center. Here's Edberg. Shoots it into the Montreal zone. Dryden missed it back to the net. Rowe trying to hold it in. Couldn't. Canadiens move it to center. Swenson has it there. Left wing pass. Lapointe knocked it down. Now here's Lafleur. Guy Lafleur moving in. Lafleur passing to Mondeau. Back to Lafleur, and it was too far ahead of him. And Edberg has it for the Capitals. To Swenson. Long backhand pass down into the Montreal zone. Serge Savard has it there. Here's Savard to Lafleur. 3 minutes left in the game. 2-2 the score. Long shot. Bedard handles that. Picard on left wing for Walter. Ryan Walter at center. Too far ahead for Chirac. Walter gets it again to Sirois. Sirois. Checked by Savard. Picard moves in. Picard holding it in, lets a shot go. Dryden kicked it out. And the Canadiens, Lafleur comes to center. Here's Lafleur. Feeding it through to shot. A shot, and Bedard had gone to his knees to cover up and make the save. And we'll have a face-off in the Washington zone. Now with 2:28 to play. This is NHL 79 live from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. 2 minutes, 28 seconds remaining. Montreal 2, Washington 2. Chirac and Walter scoring for the Capitals. LaRouche and Tremblay for Montreal.
Well, you're getting down to the nitty-gritty where face-offs are so very important.
Here's Jarvis against Chirac. Chirac couldn't clear it. The Capitals, Swenson fell and blocked the shot. Now Picard got it to Walter, who got it outside the line, and then Lapointe shot it back in. Offside at the Capitals blue line.
Thank you very much. And there's Danny looking on. I imagine he's a little nervous. What an opportunity for the Capitals to pick up their first win ever against the Canadiens. And on the other end, Scotty Bowman.
29 previous games, the best the Capitals have been able to do against Montreal. A tie. And they have lost the 5 previous meetings this season, but this one is tied 2-2. Canadians clear it in. Walter back to try and shoot it out. Houle knocked it down. Now Lane behind the net. Missed a check from Risebrough out to Walter on left wing. Walter, lead pass to Sirois. Riding out of the net to clear it away. Now along the boards, Savard headmanning it to Risebrough, number 8. Risebrough upended as he moved into the zone, and Walter calmly cleared it back to center. Lapointe for Montreal flips a high one in. Bedard sets it up for Swenson. Leaf Swenson shooting it off of the linesman's skate. Too far ahead for Chiron. And Savard has it for Montreal. Now 1:25 left. Here's Savard to Gainey. Gainey for Montreal. Picard breaks the play up, but the play was offside anyway at the Washington blue line, and we're down to 1:20 left in the game.
Well, as Bob Gainey looks on, this should be a very interesting minute and a half. You know, very important when you're in your own zone that you don't get cough that puck up or make those rink-wide passes, because one mistake right now can be very critical.
Canadians have Lemaire, Gainey, and Lafleur up front. Savard and Lapointe will be on defense.
I think we got a timeout
Capitals
here, Dan.
have called their 32nd timeout.
I'll tell you, this you got to give the Capitals again a lot of credit. They certainly have played a fine hockey game, have skated with the Canadians tonight, have done a remarkable job of forechecking. And the game, it kind of went both ways, Dan. First one team would apply the pressure, and then the other team would take over. And it's been that kind of a hockey game.
Washington Capitals 2, the Montreal Canadiens 2, 1:20 seconds remaining. Guy Chiron scored the first goal of the game for Washington, unassisted at 6:31 in the first period. LaRouche tied it for Montreal on a power play from Lambert and Lapointe at 10:14. And then Mario Tremblay in the first period is 25th of the year from Lambert at 13:04 to give Montreal a 2-1 lead. Second period was scoreless. Here in the third period, Ryan Walter is 25th of the year from Lynch at 5:36 to tie it at 2 apiece. Now here's Edberg for the Capitals trying to clear it in. Gainey knocked it into the center ice area. Marouk has it there. It's Marouk, Edberg, and Rowe. And as the Capitals dump it in, the play is offside at the Montreal blue line.
Yeah, Marouk, he's also had a fine year here. Just a little guy, but knows how to put that puck in the net. Hard worker. Who says that hard work, you're not rewarded?
Here's Marouk against Lemaire. Edberg now shoots it into the Montreal zone. Serge Savard feeding it to Lapointe. Lapointe got it to center ice. Lynch knocked it down. Less than a minute to play in the game. Lynch got it into the Montreal zone. Here is Savard firing it out on left wing. Picked up by Gainey. Now Bob Gainey moving in, trying to go around Picard. Gainey to the corner, centered one, and Lynch breaks it up and neatly feeds it to Marouk. Here's Marouk, a pass into Rowe, and it's offside. Good defensive play by Jack Lynch, and then a good lead pass to Marouk, almost in the same motion.
Right, two good plays. Gainey, you know, he has such great upper body strength there. You know, made a few head fakes, but Lynch wouldn't go for it. And then a close call at the Canadian blue line there is just offside pass by a stride.
Canadians with Lemaire at center, Gainey on left wing, Houle on right wing.
Well, Dan, the last time the Capitals played, 2 goals were scored in the last 37 seconds. So let's see what happens tonight.
Here we have 38 seconds left. 2-2 of the score. The Capitals with Marouk, Edberg, and Rowe. Here is Rolf Edberg. Shot up to the Montreal line. Savard cleared it. Gainey had it, but knocked away by Swenson. Now a couple of Canadians collide. Here's Lemaire shooting it into the center ice area. And Houle fired it into the Washington zone. Bedard on left wing to Marouk. Marouk scoops it high in the air to center ice. 15 seconds left as Savard has it at the Montreal line. To Gainey. Now Swenson intercepted. He shoots it into the Canadian zone. And Lapointe is back to pick it up. Just 5 seconds to play. to Gainey. Gainey check. They'll roll. Tried to knock it loose, but Point cleared it to the corner, and the game is over. And the Washington Capitals stretched their unbeaten string to 4 games here by battling the defending Stanley Cup champion Canadiens to a 2-2 deadlock. Montreal out shooting Washington 7-3 in the third period. On the game, Montreal out shooting the Capitals 27-17. And so the final score, the Montreal Canadiens 2, the Washington Capitals 2. We'll return with our final wrap-up in just a moment.
Chasing bad guys is not so glamorous outside of the movies. You find you spend a lot of time on stakeouts eating cold pizza, and you'd rather be someplace else having a cold beer. For me, that'd be one of these. Light beer from Miller, just in case I gotta move fast. See, Light's got a third less calories than their regular beer, and it's less filling, and the taste is just great. Ain't that right, Muggsy?
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
My wife got the house, but I got the Sony.
Darn. I thought they were going to give me a Sony.
Most people feel very special about Sony Trinitron Color TVs, probably because Sony Trinitron Color TVs are very special. You see, it's not just a TV, it's a Sony.
I hope he's not disappointed. I think he was expecting a Sony.
The Porsche 924. Except for the roll bar, harness, and fire extinguisher, it's a showroom model. What do racing drivers like about this Porsche?
It's like the car was running on rails.
It's the way that this car comes out of the turns. It's just fantastic.
The cornering, the balance. I've driven Datsun Zs, but I prefer this 924.
Racers helped design this car. Believe me, racers can tell.
What will you like about the Porsche 924? You'll never know till you try one, will you?
Promotional considerations and a fee paid by Theragran high-potency vitamins supplied to the U.S. Olympic Committee and the vitamins most recommended by physicians and pharmacists. Theragran and Theragran M with minerals. And by Air Canada. Air Canada flies more people more often to more places in Canada from the United States than any other airline. So when you're flying to Canada, take the easy way up. Air Canada. Well, if we could take our cue from the more than 10,000 leaving the Capitol Center tonight and the great ovation that the Capitals received, you'd think they'd won this hockey game, and indeed it was a moral victory for Washington, which came from behind to tie it 2-2 against Montreal. The tying goal, Ryan Walter, in the running for Rookie of the Year honors, his 25th of the year, taking a pass from Jack Lynch at 5:36. Guy Charon scored for Washington to give the Caps an early lead. Pierre LaRouche and Mario Tremblay scored also in that first period to give Montreal a 2-1 lead until that third period and Ryan Walter's tying goal. 2-2 the final score. Intermission highlights, by the way, brought to you by your local Porsche Audi dealer. Next Saturday, we're going to be in Minnesota as the Boston Bruins take on the Minnesota North Stars at 2 o'clock. Guest commentator John Davidson of the Rangers. And 1 week from tonight, we're in Montreal, the Red Wings and the Canadiens at 8 o'clock. Lou Nanne, our guest commentator then. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's game, the final Montreal 2, Washington 2. So long from Washington.
To go with the big game yesterday afternoon.
This has been an NHL 79 Sports exclusive.
Prices are great.
Hello there, everybody. This Polly want a cracker or a big league weather report? Take a look. Fresh breezes on the leeway. A Canadian no-hitter. Border to border.